Chapter 1. Blessings from the Masked Man. It was a bone-chilling evening when the Kyuubi attacked the Leaf Village. Unknown, yet to the village, a baby was born. "What should we name him?" Minato said to his loving wife Kushina. "Naruto Namake's Uzumaki," answered Kushina. Minato was about to hold his son. Just then a yellow masked figure appeared with a kunai at the baby's throat. "Don't make any sudden movements, Hokage," said the masked man. "Step away from a Jinchuriki, or the baby dies," said the masked man. Minato did what the masked figure asked him to, and he quickly stepped away from his lovely wife. Before the masked figure left with Kushina, he injected the baby with a needle. He then proceeded to throw the baby in the air and left. Minato warped to catch his son, proving himself worthy of the title Konoha no Kuroi Senko, Konoha's Yellow Flash. After Minato caught his son, he warped to his wife's location, only to find out that the masked man had released the Kyuubi, the nine-tailed fox on the village, from its seal. When a tailed beast is released from its seal, the host dies. Minato mourned the death of his wife. Minato grabs baby Naruto. He warps himself to the Namake's estate and puts Naruto in his crib. Then Minato had prepared himself for battle because he was about to fight. He puts on his Jonin vest jacket and his short-sleeved Snow White with bright red-orange flames Haori on top of his outfit and grabbed his kunai pouch with his special tri-pronged kunai. "Be back in a flash, Naruto," said Minato. Once he got ready for battle, he used his famed Hiraishin, flying thunder god technique, to warp himself to the battlefield. "Grass plains. That's it, destroy the hidden leaf, Kyuubi," said the masked man. He wore a pitch-black cloak with a hood over his head and a yellow mask with black marking that covered his face. He also wore black shinobi pants and dark navy blue shinobi greaves. "It was a pain, but I finally found you," said a voice. The masked man turned to see it was Minato Namake's Konoha no Kuroi Senko, Konoha's Yellow Flash. "So, Yondaime, how'd you find me?" asked the masked man. "I tracked you through the seal attached to your body. When you broke into the room, one of my Hiraishin seals attached to you. Thus, I was able to come here," said Minato. The masked man ran towards Minato with his chain and sickle. He attempted to cut Minato, but Minato warped out the way. Minato threw one of his tri-pronged kunai at the masked man, who warped his face to avoid being hit by the kunai. Minato warped above the masked man to catch his thrown kunai in his right hand, while in his left a blue orb was in that hand. "Rasengan, spiraling sphere," said Minato. The blue orb hit the masked man's head, causing it to expand, dealing a significant amount of damage to the masked man and a medium-sized crater in the ground. Minato placed a seal on the masked man, which caused him to warp away from him. "What did you do?" asked a furious masked man. "I broke your control over the Nine Tails. The fox is no longer under your control," said Minato. The Nine Tails' eyes switched from a three-tone eye to its normal vertical pointed line eye. "This isn't the last time you'll see me, Yondaime Hokage. It's just the beginning," said the masked man. The masked man soon warped away from the village. With that, Minato warped back to the estate to get Naruto for his plan to make Naruto the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Meanwhile, in Konoha, with the attacking Kyuubi, Hiruzen Sarutobi, the Sandaime Hokage, third Hokage, also known as the Shinobi no Kami, god of shinobi, and his forces were having a hard time to hold off the nine-tailed fox. "Give it all you got," Sarutobi yelled at the other shinobi aiding him in battle. They were holding off the fox until the Yondaime Hokage, Fourth Hokage, arrived. Suddenly, a giant toad appeared in front of the Kyuubi. Minato was on his toad. He summoned Gamabunta, Toad Boss, into battle. Hiruzen jumped on the giant toad and talked to Minato, who was carrying Naruto in one arm. He told the Sandaime Hokage that he was going to use the Shiki Fujin, dead demon consuming seal, jutsu, and seal the Kyuubi into Naruto. Minato knew if he used this jutsu he would die, but he had to take the risk, because as the Hokage, you have to sacrifice your live for the sake of the village. Just as Minato was about to perform the jutsu, he was knocked out by the Sandaime Hokage. Hiruzen performed the jutsu instead of the Minato. The Shinigami appeared before the fox and stuck his arm into the Sandaime Hokage's chest. Hiruzen sealed the in half the fox's chakra into himself and the yang half into Naruto. "Farewell, Minato and little Naruto," said Hiruzen said as he died. Minato suddenly woke up with him and his son in the hospital. Once Minato woke up, he was informed what had happened by the dog Mastambu. Minato took him and his son to the Namikaze estate. Once inside and in bed, he and Naruto slept. "He did wonder this. What did that masked man inject into Naruto?" said Minato. Little did he know that his son also had the DNA of Madara Uchiha, Hashirama Senju the Shodai Hokage, First Hokage, and Tobirama Senju the Nidaime Hokage, Second Hokage. The changes in Naruto were both internal and external in his body. The internal changes that occurred were more genetic. Due to the Kyuubi being sealed inside Naruto's body, it helped with the changes. It allowed the foreign dormant DNA from the three great shinobi to bond with Naruto's own by becoming active DNA. The external changes were noticeable later, but the first one was Naruto's hair turned black on the tips of them. His hair also grew a bit longer. Time skip. 3 years later, Naruto was on training ground 34 doing 15 push-ups. 13, 14, 15 done, said Naruto. "Now it's time to do 15 sit-ups, said Naruto. Naruto's was 3 years. Old currently, he was training to become the greatest Hokage ever. His height was 3 feet 2 inches. 96.52 centimeters, and he weighed about 36.7 pounds, 16.65 kg. He had started training at 2 years. Old by reading scrolls, and he learned the first thing to become a great ninja was to master chakra control. For that entire year, Naruto had begun doing chakra control exercises to work on it. Naruto had performed the leaf, weapon, and water walking exercises. The weapons used in weapon concentration were kunai and shuriken. Age 3, Naruto had excellent chakra control for his current reserves. A/N, Naruto will have larger reserves due to his altered DNA and Uzumaki heritage. They were larger than normal as a result of his heritage. His reserves in comparison to an actual shinobi would be mid-genin size. He asked his father for some scrolls and ninjutsu. "Okay, Naruto, in order for me to get you scrolls for ninjutsu, I need to see what affinity you have using this paper," said Minato. "Dad, what does that paper do?" asked Naruto. The paper is made a tree that is grown and fed chakra. When chakra is streamed into it has 5 possibilities, said Minato. If you have fire, the paper will ignite and turn to ash. If you have water, the paper will get wet. If you have wind, the paper will slice in two. If earth, the paper will turn to dirt and crumble away. And last, if lighting, the paper will wrinkle, said Minato. Naruto did as his father said and streamed chakra through the paper, and what happened next surprised them both. Naruto's paper split and half got wet, wrinkled, turned to dirt, and turned to ash. Naruto, do you know what this means? Said Minato. No, father, I do not, said Naruto. It means you have all 5 chakra natures, said Minato. Naruto had been surprised by this revelation. I have all chakra natures. I have to train hard to master each one, thought Naruto. For the next 2 years, Naruto decided to train in 3 of his chakra natures. Naruto chose wind, fire, and lighting as his first 3 chakra natures. Minato started to help Naruto with his training. He gave Naruto a scroll filled with some jutsu with 1 forbidden jutsu. The jutsus in the scroll were the following. Kakebunsin no jutsu, Sado clone technique. Taju kage bunshin no jutsu, multiple shadow clone technique. Bunsin no jutsu, clone technique. Enhin no jutsu, transformation technique. Shunshin no jutsu, body flicker technique. Kawarimi no jutsu, body replacement technique. Minato had promised to give Naruto C to be rank wind, fire, and lighting scrolls, and teach him one of his own jutsu if Naruto could master the scroll he gave him. Naruto, of course, accepted the challenge. For the next 2 weeks, Naruto was training on that scroll. He had mastered the Kage Bunshin and Taju Kage Bunshin within the first week. Now Naruto had 4 more techniques to learn before he could get some more scrolls and learn some new jutsus. Naruto had discovered that with the Kage Bunshin training becomes easier. Whatever the clone learned, Naruto would also learn once he dispersed it. So Naruto trained on the first 2 jutsu on the scroll, which he knows he has mastered them in 1 week. Next week, Naruto went back to the training, but he knew it wouldn't take him a week to learn the other 3 jutsus. Tajikage Bunshin no jutsu, said Naruto. He summoned 40 clones to help him with his training. All right, all of you, I want each of you to get into a group of 10, said the real Naruto. All of the clones did what he asked, and Naruto then gave them their orders. Okay, I want each of you to listen up. Group A shall learn and practice the Bunshin no jutsu until it's mastered. Group B shall learn and practice till it's mastered the Henge no jutsu by trying to transform into trees. And Group C, I want you to learn, practice, and master the Shunshin no jutsu. Group D, I want you to learn and master the Korimi no jutsu, said the real Naruto. With that said, his clones each saw the scroll and began to work on their assigned jutsu. The real Naruto had started doing push-ups and sit-ups to make his body stronger. -2 hours later, Naruto's clones had mastered the jutsus within 2 hours of doing their assigned task. Naruto dispersed each group of clones one by one, taking a break in between to not overload his brain and get a headache. Minato found Naruto on the training ground where he usually was. Naruto, it's time to go home, said Minato. Dad, I've mastered all the jutsu on the scroll, said Naruto. All right then. Naruto, show me each technique on the scroll, said Minato. Naruto used Kage Bunshin no jutsu to summon up 2 clones. Naruto then used Tajukaga Bunshin no Jutsu to summon 10 clones. Next, Naruto used the Henge no Jutsu to transform himself into a clone of Minato. Naruto used the Shunshin no Jutsu to run into the village and back to training ground. After that, Naruto used the Bunshin no Jutsu to make an illusionary clone of himself. And finally, Naruto used the Kawarimi no Jutsu to replace himself with a nearby log. Wow. In only 2 weeks after giving him that scroll, he mastered all those jutsu. He is steadily on his way to becoming a strong ninja, thought Minato to himself. All right, I'll get you what you asked for and some bonus stuff tomorrow, said Minato. Minato carried Naruto on his back and warped to the Namikaze estate. Inside the Namikaze estate, Minato had started to cook some ramen for Naruto. Since he had mastered that scroll, he gave him in 2 weeks. Naruto ate his dinner and took a bath to wash up, then he went to sleep happily. The next morning, Naruto awoke to a very bright sky. It was 9 a.m. in the morning. Naruto saw 3 scrolls on his desk alongside one set of books that introduced Fuinjutsu, sealing techniques, with a note attached. The note read, "Dear Naruto, if you're reading this note, that means you has awoken from your slumber, sleepy head. On your desk, you have the scrolls you asked for and some scrolls on Fuinjutsu, because I thought you'd be interested in it. When I get home, I'll teach you one of my jutsu. From your father with love, Minato." Once Naruto read his father's note, he got out of bed and made it up. Naruto then took a bath to clean his body, then he put on his clothes. His outfit consisted of a pitch black t-shirt with the Uzumaki symbol on the back and black shorts with a navy blue pair of shinobi greaves. Naruto, now fully clothed, ate a breakfast of cereal with a glass of milk and orange juice. On Training Ground 34, Naruto decided to start with the Wind Scroll. Not only did he know it could increase the sharpness power if streamed through a weapon, and his father Minato also had Wind Chakra. Naruto opened the Wind Scroll to see the jutsu on them. The jutsus that were on them were as follows. C rank: Futon, Cookie no Kurosaki Ma, Wind Release, Air Slasher. Futon, Rapusho, Wind Release, Gale Palm. Futon, Daitapa, Wind Release, Great Breakthrough. B rank: Futon, Genzai no Sure, Wind Release, Dead Current. Futon, Doragon no Todoroki, Wind Release, Dragon's Roar. Futon, Mugen at Suryoku, Wind Release, Infinite Current. Once Naruto read the scroll, he used Tajukaga Bunshin no Jutsu, multiple shadow clone technique, to summon 130 clones to assist him in training. Naruto put 120 of his clones into 6 groups of 20 and 1 group of 10. Groups AF of the 20 clone groups each studied a jutsu from the Wind Scroll, 1 jutsu per group. Group G, with the 10 clones, were given the set of Fuinjutsu scrolls to start to learn it, so Naruto could one day become a master. The real Naruto used Shunshin no Jutsu, body flicker technique, to Konoha. Inside the village, Naruto was looking for the best ninja tool shop that was available since he wasn't yet a Genin. After searching for an hour, he found a shop. It was called the Nobori Riksu Ascending Dragon. They accepted all customers no matter rank or ninja status. However, they made and bought custom quality ninja tools, so the prices were higher. Naruto walked into the store, where he waited at the counter till the shop owner came out. He was a tall man who was 6 feet 2 inches and wore white t-shirt with navy blue pants with gray sandals on. His name was Dan Hazakai and was proprietor and blacksmith of a shop. "What can I get you?" asked Dan. "I would like 50 kunai, 50 shuriken, 60 paper tags, 30 blank scrolls, and a black ninja tool pouch, a paintbrush with ink, void black shinobi pants, and pitch black shinobi greaves," said Naruto. "Wait right here," said Dan, as he went to the back of the shop to get the materials Naruto had requested. "All right, here are your 50 kunai, 50 shuriken, 60 paper tags, 30 scrolls, a black ninja tool pouch to carry your tools, and a paintbrush with ink," said Dan. "How long will the custom items take to be crafted?" asked Naruto. "Altogether, I say a month and a half," said Dan. "Now your total is 10,555 Ryo, said Dan. Naruto took out his frog wallet and paid the man and went back into the village to get more supplies. Naruto then shunshined back to the training ground. Back on training ground 34, Naruto gave his paper tags and paintbrush with ink to his Group G clones. He told them to write on the seals to see what they had learned. Groups AF had already completed their task, so Naruto dispersed each group of clones one by one and gained the knowledge from them. Naruto was now on his way to mastering his first chakra nature. The Group G clones had asked Naruto to come over to their location. Naruto had found that they completed their studies in their introductory to Jutsu. Naruto had dispersed this group of clones to also gain their knowledge. Minato had warped to the training ground for Naruto's special training. "I see you have studied Jutsu," said Minato. "Yes, Father, I have studied Jutsu along with the entire sea to be ranked Wind Jutsu," said Naruto. "He never stops amazing me. He mastered the beginner's course to Jutsu along with a scroll filled with sea to be ranked Wind Jutsu," Minato thought to himself. "All right, for your hard work, which of my jutsus do you want to learn the Hiraishin, Flying Thunder God technique, or the Rasengan, Spiraling Sphere?" asked Minato. "I choose the Rasengan," said Naruto. "All right, watch Naruto," said Minato. Minato held out his right hand. As Naruto watched in amazement whilst blue spinning orb was formed at his father's hand. "How did you do that?" asked a curious Naruto. "I use my chakra to spin the wind in all directions for rotation. Secondly, I use dense chakra for power, and then I put both rotation and power together to without moving to form the sphere shape," said Minato. "Rotation, power, and sphere shape are what form a Rasengan," said Minato. "Now you try it. Let me see how perfect your chakra control is, Naruto," said Minato. Naruto took in what his father had said and applied it what he was doing. Naruto cupped both his together, focusing only his chakra into his hands. Next, Naruto added in dense chakra along with sphere shape. Suddenly, a blue orb appeared in Naruto's left hand. "I did it," said Naruto, who was looking at his own Rasengan. "Yes, you did," said Minato. Minato took Naruto along with his stuff home to the estate. -2 months later, Naruto, who was wearing his new outfit, which consisted of a dark black t-shirt with void black shinobi pants and pitch black shinobi greaves, which were custom made. Naruto had picked them up about a month and a half ago when they were ready. He had taken break from his other two nature affinities, fire and lighting. He was going to master and decided to work on other aspects of being a ninja, such as taijutsu, body technique, and his Fuin jutsu. He was reading books and scrolls to not only help Fuin jutsu, but also his taijutsu. Naruto, about 1 month ago, after learning Rasengan, realized that he didn't have any real taijutsu style, so he wanted one that was better than the academy style. Naruto, for 2 months, him and his clones not only worked on seals and mastering Fuin jutsu, but also was developing a kick-ass taijutsu style. Naruto wanted a taijutsu style that combined both power and speed together to become a threat to any enemy he faced. So in 2 months' time, Naruto was an intermediate seal maker and had developed a taijutsu style which had its flaws, but was still pretty good. Naruto's birthday was next month, so he had wrote a list of items he wanted his father to get him. Naruto opened the fire scroll to see what jutsu they contained. They were the following: C rank, Katan, Ryuka no Jutsu, fire release, dragon fire technique. Katan, Inden, fire release, flame bullet. Katan, Gokakyu no Jutsu, fire release, great fireball technique. B rank, Katan, Karyu Inden, fire release, fire dragon flame bullet. Katan, Goryuka no Jutsu, fire release, great dragon fire technique. Katan, Fuxinikusa no Iron no Hanu, fire release, Phoenix eternal flame. Naruto had summoned up 120 clones, put them in group AF, so each group of 20 clones, so each clones could learn and master each jutsu, one per group. Naruto clones started on their tedious task of completing each assigned fire jutsu. Naruto shined to the village to again shop for more supplies from the shops he frequently visited. Naruto first went to the armor shop. In the armor shop, "So Naruto, what can I do for you today?" asked Dan. "I need one custom-made black handle sharp and strong katana, 60 paper tags, and 430 pounds. Wait," said Naruto. "What is the material you want your sword made out of?" asked Dan. "Tamahagane mixed with diamond for the blade, and for the handle black dyed metal. I would also like the metal to be able to conduct my chakra through it," said Naruto. Dan went to get Naruto's requested items and came back to the counter. "Here are your 430 pounds, chakra weights, and 60 paper tags," said Dan. He handed a bag full of Naruto stuff. "How long will the sword take to be crafted?" asked Naruto. "The sword will take about 8 weeks to be completed," said Dan. "Your total today is 11,200 Ryo," said Dan. Naruto took out the money and paid the man, then left the shop. "Thank you, come again, Naruto," said Dan. Dan went to grab his messenger bird, which was a hawk, to fly off to his friend Kai, who was a miner. The note that was being sent to Kai was about sending him some diamonds. It would cost him about 25,999 Ryo for a 20 pounds diamond. The next shop Naruto headed off to was a scroll shop. It was called Shinsei Natsukuru, Sacred Scrolls. The scroll shop had a limit on what type of scrolls were available to non-genin or civilians. The exception to that rule was buying scrolls that weren't ninjutsu or jinjutsu. The scroll shopkeeper's name was Zio Noritora. He was a silver hair man, was 5 feet 9 inches, and wore all white robe that covered his entire body. He also wore glasses. "What can I do for you today?" asked Zio. "I would like to see your Kenjutsu scrolls," said Naruto. Zio turned around and grabbed for Kenjutsu scrolls. He turned back around to talk to Naruto. "There are 4 levels for Kenjutsu scrolls: beginner, intermediate, veteran, and master," said Zio. "You can buy each scroll individual for 500 Ryo, or buy the complete set with 5 scrolls per level for 10,000 Ryo, said Zio. "I'll take the complete set," said Naruto. "Are there any other scrolls you want, sir?" asked Zio. "Do you have any scrolls on Fuinjutsu?" asked Naruto. Zio also pulled down some Fuinjutsu scrolls. "I also have 3 levels of Fuinjutsu: beginner, intermediate, and veteran," said Zio. "They cost 400 individually, and in a set with 4 scrolls in each level, they cost 4,800 Ryo, said Zio. "I'll take both sets for Kenjutsu, sword technique, and Fuinjutsu," said Naruto. The man handed Naruto his 32 scrolls, in which Naruto took out a storage scroll, which Naruto unsealed, then resealed with his 32 scrolls in his storage scroll. Naruto paid the man 14,800 Ryo and left the store, and he went back to the battlefield. Naruto had spent exactly 1 hour in the village while his clones were still training to master the fire jutsu. Naruto unsealed his storage scroll to examine his Fuinjutsu scrolls. Naruto was reading the scrolls till he found that Groups AF had mastered the fire jutsu. Naruto, one group at a time, dispersed his clones to learn the jutsus for himself. Naruto decided to work on his Fuinjutsu along with his taijutsu and lighting style ninjutsu for the next couple of weeks. Naruto had decided till he got his katana from the armor shop. Naruto read the lighting scroll to see what was on scroll. The jutsus were the following. C rank. Raiden, Zusu Burasudo Kainon, lightning release, Zeus blast cannon. Raiden, Kaminari no Funsai Ki, lightning release, thunder crusher. Raiden, Hikari wo Hakai Shimasu, lightning release, destroying light. B rank. Raiden, John, lightning release, false darkness. Raiden, Tora no Hoku, lightning release, tiger's roar. Raiden, Kaji no Bunkatsu, lightning release, helm splitter. Naruto used his same jutsu training method by using Taju Kaga Bunshin no Jutsu to summon 150 clones. 120 of Naruto's clones got into groups of 20 to each practice one jutsu from the scroll. These groups were Group AF. Group G worked on Fuinjutsu practice by making paper bomb tags and storage scrolls. Group H worked on taijutsu by practicing different forms and stances and sparring with each other. Groups G and H had 15 clones in each group. The real Naruto had put on his 30 pounds, weights on each arm and leg, so Naruto would become faster when he had the weights off. Naruto decided to build up his speed. He would do laps around the training field. Naruto was on his 5th lap when he noticed that Groups AF had completed their training, so Naruto had dispersed each group of clones to get the knowledge of the lighting release ninjutsu. Naruto continued to run his laps until his Group G clones finished their Fuinjutsu, and Naruto's Group H clones had all dispersed because of their sparring. Naruto quickly dispersed his G group of clones. Naruto's jutsu skills had been improving since he started training in them 2 months ago. Naruto is at the intermediate level of jutsu. He knows how to make seals, storage scrolls, and paper bomb tags. Naruto was reading and writing to become better in academic studies that helped with his training. Naruto was now awaiting the time to pick up his katana so he could start kinjutsu training to master it. Minus 1 month later, Naruto, who had just turned 4, was reading his intermediate scroll of kinjutsu. 8 weeks ago, Naruto picked up his katana from Dan and immediately begun to practice kinjutsu. Naruto would practice the forms and stances with his sword for hours at a time. It would take Naruto by himself with no clones 2 days to master one scroll. The third day after he finished a scroll, Naruto would practice the forms and stances by summoning shadow clones and dispersing each clone one by one with each striking. Naruto, with most of his studies, had a natural talent for kinjutsu. It was like taijutsu. He wanted his own form, but decided to read and learn forms first, then create his own. One of the forms in the kinjutsu scrolls Naruto learned was the Serinto Kiringu, silent killing. Naruto, for his birthday, wanted only 2 things. The first was 1.5 million Ryo, and for his father Minato, to teach him Hiraishin, flying thunder god technique. His birthday wish came true for 4 reasons. The first reason was Minato, Naruto's dad, had saved all his money as a kid. Reason 2 was that Minato had a successful business in Konoha, which brought him an income of 55,000 Ryo per year. Reason 3 is because Minato is the Hokage, and reason 4, Minato knew Naruto was interested in jutsu, and he knew the Hiraishin was made from jutsu. Naruto used Hiraishin to warp to marked locations such as Shinsei Natsuko, Nobori Riksu, Ichiraka Ramen Shop, and Training Ground 34, faster. Naruto had also informed his father that he would like to be enrolled in the academy when he was 8 years of age. Minato, being a reasonable man, agreed to sign him up when he was 8. Naruto decided to ask his father for some C and B rank scrolls on water and earth ninjutsu. Minato obliged and gave his son 2 scrolls, one for water and the other for earth. Naruto had decided to first practice water style and begin his training to master it. Naruto opened the scroll to see these jutsu on it. C rank. Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu, water clone technique. Suetun, Tepidama, water release, gunshot. Suiro no Jutsu, water prison technique. B rank. Suetun, Suryuden no Jutsu, water release, water dragon bullet technique. Suetun, Suikoden no Jutsu, water release, water shark bullet technique. Suetun, Suijin Hiki, water release, water encampment wall. Naruto had used Hiraishin to warp to Training Ground 34. Once there, Naruto summoned 120 clones, put them in 6 groups of 20, and had them each work one jutsu from the water scroll. Naruto then summoned 40 more clones to help him train in taijutsu and kinjutsu. Naruto had all 40 of his clones surround him to attempt to attack him using only kinjutsu and taijutsu. One clone of Naruto rushes at him for a punch to Naruto's face, but Naruto dodges to the left and follows up with a roundhouse kick to the clone's face, dispersing it immediately. One clone charges at Naruto with his katana, only for Naruto to slash the clone from head to toe, causing it to disperse. Three clones decide to break Naruto's rules and use ninjutsu. Right on. Kaji no Bunkatsu, said the first clone. Katan. Gokaki no Jutsu, said the second clone. Futon. Daitapa, said the third clone. A heavy wind picked up, which had expanded and increased the fireball size and strength. At the same time, the third clone slammed his katana into the ground, causing a massive wave of lighting to rush towards Naruto. Naruto didn't know how to get himself out of this situation. He thought he was going to be injured or worse, killed. As the situation he was in looked grim for Naruto, his eyes suddenly changed into red ones with a single tomo circling around a singular. Naruto noticed that he could see the jutsu that were coming and found a small opening between the attacks, so he took it and followed up with a counterattack. Naruto used an upward underhand slash to destroy his first clone and used a double spin kick to destroy the second and the third clone. Naruto then went on an assault using a combination of punches, kicks, and slashes to destroy all the 40 clones. Naruto then noticed he still had that enhanced vision, so he warps to the Hokage's office to talk to his father. Hokage's office. Minato was battling the dread enemy of all 5 Kage, paperwork. He had 2 giant stacks to complete and wished he had something else to occupy his time. Suddenly, Naruto had warped in front of his father's desk. "Dad, I need your help," said Naruto. "What can I help you with, Naruto?" said Minato. "I was sparring against my clones, and they broke my rules of no ninjutsu and attacked me. I thought I was going to die when suddenly my vision changed, and I saw every little detail and beat my clones," said Naruto. "Naruto, let me see your eyes," said Minato. Naruto showed his father his eyes, and Minato was shocked. Naruto has Sharingan, copy wheel eye. But how could it have been that day, thought Minato to himself. "All right, Naruto, I need you to go back to the training grounds, and I'll send someone to help you with your eyes, okay?" said Minato. "Okay," said Naruto. Naruto warped back to the training ground 34. "Itachi, come here," said Minato. A fox masked, wearing Yinbu agent entered the room. He had black hair, was 13 years of age, and wore the typical AMBU outfit, which consisted of black clothing, a black spiral tattoo on his right shoulder, gray flak jacket, and gray metal shinobi arm guards, a small katana attached to his back, and a ninja pouch. The Yinbu ninja's name was Itachi Uchiha of the Uchiha clan. "Yes, Lord Hokage," said Itachi. "My son has the Sharingan and needs help training with, so I thought you could help him," said Minato. "How long do I need to train him for?" asked Itachi. "For 6 months," said Minato. "You'll be on paid leave from your rank as AMBU captain and will get double for the mission," said Minato. "I also need you to watch him when I'm not around," said Minato. "Yes, Lord Hokage, I accept the mission with full responsibility, and I shall not fail, Lord Hokage," said Itachi. And with that being said, Itachi left the Hokage's office, changed into his regular clothes, and went to Training Ground 34. Back on Training Ground 34. "Where is he?" said Naruto. Naruto was desperately waiting for the person to help him with his eye problem. "Sorry I'm late, Naruto," said Itachi. "What's wrong with my eyes?" said Naruto. "Nothing is wrong with your eyes. It's that you unlocked the Sharingan," said Itachi. "What is the Sharingan?" said Naruto. "The Sharingan is a dojutsu, technique, Kekii Jinkai wielded by the Uchiha clan. It bestows powers to the user that they wouldn't normally have. And apparently you have it, said Itachi. To deactivate your Sharingan, remove chakra from your eyes, said Itachi. Naruto had done what Itachi had told him, and Naruto had deactivated it. It worked. My vision is back to normal, said Naruto. Hey, mister, what is your name? Asked Naruto. It's Itachi Uchiha, said Itachi. Naruto, who was with a deactivated Sharingan, dispersed all his clones one at a time to learn the water scroll jutsus. Thank you, Itachi-sensei, said Naruto. It was no problem, said Itachi. Hey, Naruto, how would you like to learn how to master the Sharingan for the next 6 months by me? Asked Itachi. Yes, I would love to learn how to use the Sharingan from you, Itachi-sensei, said Naruto. We begin at 8 a.m., so don't be late, said Itachi. Okay, said Naruto. For the next 6 months, Naruto put his other training on hold to master and learn about the Sharingan. For the first month of training, Itachi and Naruto sparred against each other without using Sharingan. Itachi explained that by training without first then training with Sharingan, Naruto wouldn't become too dependent on using the Sharingan. Naruto, upon hearing this excellent advice, decided that he would only use his Sharingan during emergencies and against highly skilled ninja who may outclass him. During the second month of training, Itachi made Naruto practice using his Sharingan to identify and disrupt Jinjutsu. Itachi had Naruto summon a clone, and Itachi would place a Jinjutsu on the clone, and Naruto would see the disruption of the clone chakra flow and would release the Jinjutsu on the clone and then disperse the clone. Itachi, before starting the second month of training, had informed Naruto that he could see chakra flow with his Sharingan. The third month of training, Itachi had Naruto use his Sharingan to copy the jutsu and hand signs movements he would make. Itachi would change the jutsu daily, so Naruto would be prepared to fight enemies who had different nature affinities. The fourth and fifth months of training were different. These 2 months in particular were about evolving Naruto's Sharingan. Since the past 3 months Naruto was just training and using the basics of the Sharingan, Itachi decided to make the next 2 months hell for the blonde-haired boy. Itachi, what are we doing to do today? Said Naruto. Naruto, for the next 2 months, I will help you mature your Sharingan, said Itachi. What do you mean mature my Sharingan, Itachi-sensei? Said Naruto. Naruto, look at my eyes, said Itachi. Naruto looked at Itachi's eyes and saw his Sharingan had, and out in the middle with 3 tomo around it. How did you get a 3 tomo Sharingan? Asked Naruto. I got through training, which is what you're going to have to go through for the next 2 months to get a fully matured Sharingan. Naruto groaned because he knew for the next 2 months his Sharingan training was going to get a lot harder. But Naruto knew that becoming a powerful ninja wasn't easy, so he had to suck it up and deal with it. So Naruto, you ready? Asked Itachi. Yes, I'm ready, said Naruto. It took Naruto half the 4th month to develop a 2 tomo Sharingan only because Naruto was allowed to use ninjutsu, and he was giving Itachi some difficulty. So Itachi told Naruto he couldn't use ninjutsu, but only his taijutsu and kinjutsu. To get the 3 tomo Sharingan, I took Naruto the rest of the 4th month and the 3 weeks into the 5th month for Naruto. He had been pushed into nearly inescapable situations by Itachi that caused Naruto's Sharingan to eventually mature into a 3 tomo Sharingan. Itachi had continued to battle Naruto till the 6th month. The 6th month of training Itachi had taught Naruto to track fast-moving objects with his Sharingan and how to react faster than his opponent while using his Sharingan. Itachi left after that month of training Naruto, so he was back to training himself. Naruto had taken out the Earth Ninjutsu scroll to train in it. The jutsu on the scroll were the following. C rank. Doton. Retsudo Tensho. Earth Release. Tearing Earth Turning Palm. Doton. Manhura no Haka. Earth Release. Manhole Tomb. Doton. Kametsu Teki na Raka no Suredo. Earth Release. Devastating Rock Slide. B rank. Doton. Domu. Earth Release. Earth Spear. Doton. Jishin no Mezame. Earth Release. Awakening Earthquake. Doton. Ten no Nadar. Earth Release. Heavenly Avalanche. Naruto read the scroll and then used his normal training method by summoning 120 clones, putting them into 6 groups of 20 clones, and having each group of clones learn and master one jutsu, each from the scroll. Naruto was doing 60 push-ups and 70 sit-ups while wearing 50 pounds, weights on each arm and leg. Naruto knew that he would have to increase the weights by 5 pounds every 2 weeks because Naruto's body would get used to the weights he was using. Naruto had wanted his body to be strong and fast naturally without him using Hiraishin or Shunshin techniques respectively. Naruto was fast without using either technique. Naruto was training to build his body to be stronger to help improve his taijutsu and kenjutsu style. By the time Naruto finished his workout, his clones had learned and mastered the Earth-style jutsu, so Naruto dispersed each group of clones to learn the jutsus. For the rest of the year, Naruto trained in ninjutsu to see which ninjutsu he could combine together to become a deadly combination. Naruto had found he could combine water, lighting, and wind together, wind and fire together, and water and lighting together. Naruto, once he found these combinations, practiced them with his clones. Naruto had just recently turned 5 years old and had already decided what to do. For the next 3 years, Naruto exclusively trains in Fuinjutsu, Taijutsu, and Kenjutsu. Naruto goals are to become a prodigy in Fuinjutsu and sell his seals to all the ninja stores in Konoha and make stronger seals and develop his own unique Taijutsu and Kenjutsu styles. Naruto had told his father to get him AS rank ninjutsu scroll on all natures when he turned 8. Minato questioned Naruto why he specified when he was 8. Naruto replied, when he turns 8, he would be put into the academy. So he would. Minus 3 years later. An 8-year-old Naruto was at Dan Hazakai's armor shop. He was making a large order like he usually does. Naruto grew taller in the last 6 years since he began training. Naruto height was 4 feet 0.7 in, 139.7 centimeters. He weighs about 57 pounds, 25.85 kilograms. His hair grew to his mid-back, and Naruto decided to cut it if it grew past that length. Naruto, when he had begun his ninja training, he had average or low Genin reserves. However, due to Naruto beginning chakra control, as soon as he did him, now has a medium-level Chunin reserve. His father had given him AS rank scrolls for wind, water, fire, lighting, and earth natures. Naruto had begun to alternate training by switch from ninjutsu to taijutsu to kenjutsu back to ninjutsu. He did this daily now. Naruto, who in a month was about to enter the academy, wanted a new outfit, so he went to Dan. "Hey Dan," said Naruto. "Hi Naruto, what would you my best customer like today?" asked Dan. The truth is told, Naruto was Dan's best customer because he often ordered a lot of items, making it expensive, unlike his other customers who ordered very few items. Dan also said that was because Naruto's orders kept him busy because he would have to usually craft something for the blonde-haired boy, and he liked to make equipment. "Can I get 10 scrolls, 45 paper tags, 50 custom kunai with sharper and wider tip, burgundy red armor like the Shodai Hokage, First Hokage, void black shinobi t-shirt outlined in crimson red with shinobi no, oh, king of shinobi, written on the back in crimson red, pitch black metal arm guards outlined in white with white bandages, white long sleeve shinobi undershirt, and solid black shinobi greaves," said Naruto. Dan went and got Naruto his requested items from the back, put them in a bag, and handed it to Naruto. "Your custom armor will be ready in 1 month, and your total is 45,500 Ryo," said Dan. Naruto unsealed his money from a scroll and paid the man. Naruto then unsealed the sketches for the custom armor he ordered and gave to Dan also. Naruto quickly left the shop afterwards. Naruto had went back to practice his taijutsu and kenjutsu styles. He finally had developed and named them after 3 years. Naruto's taijutsu style was called the Kanshirono Doragon, Dark White Dragon. He describes it as the perfect balance of power and speed. Naruto attacks his enemies with strong, powerful blows capable of breaking bones and killing a person. Naruto also uses strong, fast punches and kicks, which causes opponent not having a chance to counter back. By combining these two very powerful aspects together, the Kanshirono Doragon is a force to be reckoned with in battle. Naruto also in the course of 3 years developed an equally powerful and deadly kenjutsu style. Naruto calls it the Shurwa Kixio Jixioshai Doragon, Death Reaping Dragon. Naruto attacks an enemy with his katana using quick clean slashes on their neck, chest, legs, or back. Depending on how serious Naruto was with that person, he could kill or paralyze a person by cutting their spinal cord or their leg tendon. This causes a person to lose mobility in their own bodies, allowing Naruto to go in for the kill. Naruto had read and learned that killing was a part of a ninja's duty, and Naruto had decided to only kill as a last resort option. Fuinjutsu, sealing techniques, was a hobby for Naruto that he loved and was a prodigy in. Naruto was now a veteran Fuinjutsu master who was getting better the more he practiced. Naruto had already started making his own seals. Naruto would make a new seal and experiment with his own items. Naruto also made his own seals for the Hiraishin Jutsu. Naruto also had another hidden feature in his own Hiraishin kunai. Naruto's kunai seal would either blow up, destroying the seal, and kunai also injuring the person who tried messing with the seal, but would fade away, leaving only a regular kunai. This was so ninja from other villages couldn't steal or learn the secrets of the Hiraishin. Naruto was doing his physical training, which consisted of push-ups, sit-ups, leg lifts, crunches, wall, and tree sits. Naruto had planned on doing these workouts for the entire month till he went to the academy. -1 month later. Naruto was in bed, sleeping to prepare for tomorrow. Naruto would be going to the academy the next morning. Naruto had prepared to wear his custom ninja outfit tomorrow, since it was his first day. Naruto woke up at 6:30 a.m. Naruto had got up out of bed and summoned 4 shadow clones. One clone made Naruto's bed. 2 clones went downstairs to make Naruto's breakfast and lunch. The last clone unsealed Naruto's outfit and then dispersed. Naruto was taking a 15-minute hot shower. When Naruto came out, he put on his custom armor that he ordered from Dan a month ago. Naruto then attached his ninja pouch filled with his Hiraishin kunai and shuriken. He also attached his katana in its sheath to his back. Naruto went downstairs and ate his breakfast his clones made for him. Naruto's breakfast consisted of an egg white omelet with cheese, oatmeal, milk, and orange juice. Once he finished his breakfast, Naruto grabbed his lunch and headed out the door to the academy. At the academy, Naruto arrived at the academy the same time the other students did. Naruto walked on and took his seat in the second row of seats. All the other students took their seats in class soon after. After all the students had taken their seats, 2 Chunin ninja walked into the room, and one of them had begun talking to the class. "Settle down now, class," said the first Chunin. He had light brown skin with a large scar across his nose. He also had dark brown hair. The other Chunin had silver gray hair and was roughly the same height as the other Chunin teacher. "Good morning, class," said the brown-haired Chunin. "My name is Iriki Yumino," said Irika. "My name is Mizuki," said Mizuki. Irika had explained for the next 4 years they would be taught by both himself and Mizuki. Irika also explained at the end of the 4 years there would be a test to decide whether they would become Genin or not. Naruto was without any doubts going to pass that test. Irika also told the class that it starts at 7 o'clock and ends at 2 p.m. -2:00 p.m. that day. Naruto left the academy like everybody else, and he shunshined home. His father Minato arrived home 2 hours later because he was in a meeting. "Hey Naruto, sorry I was late because I got held up in a meeting," said Minato. "It's okay, Dad, I forgive you," said Naruto. "So how was your first day at the academy?" asked Minato. "It was good," said Naruto. Minato had started to prepare dinner. Naruto had started training on his kenjutsu. Naruto came back in the house 1 hour. Later, after training, eat his dinner of pork and beef stew with rice and tea, took a shower, and went to bed. -1 SD year. For that entire year, Irika taught his students on world history and the founding of Konoha. Most students didn't pay attention, care, or were too busy fangirling over Sasuke. Naruto paid attention even though he had already knew the information Irika was teaching, so it was still a good refresher course. Naruto had been asked to answer several questions by Irika, which answered correctly. This was so he wouldn't look stupid or be called names by the others. Naruto had some friends in his class, though. Naruto's first friend was Shikamaru Nara, the young heir of the Nara clan. Naruto was friends with him for 2 reasons. His intelligence was high, so he wasn't stupid, and he liked to strategize and think situations through like Naruto. Naruto's other friend was Choji Akimichi, because both him and Choji were friends with Shikamaru. Naruto had good grades throughout the year, thanks to his love of reading. Naruto, before his first year ended, had turned 9 years old. When the end of the year approached, the last day of school, students would engage in a battle of strictly taijutsu. Irika choose who fight and their opponent. It was Naruto's turn for battle. All right, Naruto, you will fight Sasuke, said Irika. Both Naruto and Sasuke walked into the ring, which was their fighting arena. This match is strictly taijutsu only, said Irika. Naruto threw down his katana away from the ring. You can now begin, said Irika. Sasuke rushed at Naruto, who tried to punch him, but Naruto blocked him. Sasuke then attempts to kick Naruto in his face, but Naruto blocked his kick. Naruto then goes on the offensive. He punches Sasuke in the stomach, who's caught off guard by the punch, thinking he was going for his face. Naruto then follows his punch up into the air and finishes with a roundhouse kick to Sasuke's face, causing him to be knocked out the ring. Winner Naruto, Uzumaki, said Irika. Many of Sasuke's fangirls were outraged by the fact that their Sasuke lost, and they claimed that Naruto cheated. Naruto, after the match, picked up his katana, attached to his back, and walked back into the classroom. After that day, the students were out on summer break, which allowed Naruto to go back to training. Naruto started to have all-out brawls with him against 50 of his clones. Minato from time to time would finish work early, would come and watch Naruto brawl against his clones. Minato was watching Naruto battle his clones, and something amazing happened. Suiton, Tsuryuden no Jutsu, said Naruto. A large dragon of water appeared and had destroyed 15 of Naruto's clones. The remaining 35 of them all activated their Sharingans and surrounded Naruto. Raiton, Tora no Hoku, said Naruto's clones as they each made hand signs for their attack. 35 large tiger-shaped electrical blasts rushed towards Naruto. He thought he was done for, so he placed both hands on the ground and streamed chakra into the ground. Suddenly, 5 large tree roots emerged from underground and blocked Naruto's clones' attacks. Minato saw everything that happened and was shocked that his son had Mokutan would release. Naruto has Mokutan, but how it can't be because of that day, can it? So the masked man caused Naruto to become like this, thought Minato to himself. Naruto, disperse all your clones and come here, said Minato. Naruto had done what his father had asked of him and dispersed his clones, walked up to his father. Yes, father, said Naruto. Do you know why those tree roots came up out of the ground and protected you, said Minato. No, father, I do not know why, said Naruto. It's because you have the Mokutan, said Minato. Father, what is the Mokutan? Asked Naruto. The Mokutan is a nature Kekei Genkai, combining the Churka natures of water and earth. It originally belonged to Hashirama Senju of the Senju clan. With it became the Shodai Hokage. He used this ability. He had to create the forest and village of Konoha. The Shodai Hokage, with use of the Mokutan, was able to subdue the tailed beast with it, said Minato. After hearing Minato's explanation, Naruto was in awe that he had a Kekei Genkai as powerful as the Mokutan. I have the Mokutan. I must also master this style of techniques, thought Naruto to himself. Minato had informed Yamato about Naruto with his Mokutan. Naruto was being trained in Mokutan by Yamato. He first taught Naruto how to channel in his water and earth chakra to create Mokutan. He then taught Naruto how to use the Moku Bunshin no Jutsu with clone technique, Mokutan. Shichuka no Jutsu would release 4-pillar house technique, Mokutan. Shichiro no Jutsu would release, four-pillar prison technique, and the Mokutan, Mokujihiki would release, wood locking wall. Yamato left after teaching Naruto the basics of Mokutan. Yamato's training took up 4 weeks of Naruto's summer vacation. Naruto, after training on Mokutan, went back to his ninjutsu training. He opened the AS-ranked fire scroll. The scroll read the following techniques. A-ranked. Katon, Yamakaji no Hanu, fire release, wildfire blaze. Katon, Doragon no Tsum, fire release, dragon claw. Katon, Kixio Katana Hoka, fire release, extreme arson. S-ranked. Katon, Ryuin Hoka no Jutsu, fire release, dragon flame release song technique. Katon, Taiyu Haisaku, fire release, solar obliteration. Naruto had summoned 150 clones, put them into 5 groups with 30 clones each, and had each group work on the 5 jutsus in the scroll. Naruto had stopped using weights to train with. Naruto felt that they weren't efficient for speed training. Naruto, however, being an expert in Fuinjutsu, decided that he would invent a seal for speed training. Naruto unsealed his Fuinjutsu supplies from his Fuinjutsu storage scroll. He started drawing the blueprints for the seal until his clones finished their jutsu practice. Naruto had dispersed his clones after learning of their scroll completion. Naruto, after he finished that day, go training warped back home. Once inside the estate, Naruto decided to continue to work on his now speed and weight training seal. He summoned 4 additional clones to help him work on the seal. Naruto, academically, was at the top of his class. Second place was Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto unintentionally started a rivalry between himself and Sasuke. Sasuke started to train and study harder than ever to catch up to Naruto. His first step toward achieving this goal by mastering the Katon, Gokaku no Jutsu, fire release, great fireball technique. This jutsu was the coming of age rite for the Uchiha. Sasuke also increased his physical training as well. He started doing 50 push-ups, 2 sets of 25, and 30 sit-ups, 2 sets of 15. Sasuke hoped in 4 years he would surpass Naruto. He also trained for another reason. It was to kill Itachi to avenge his clan. Flashback, evening midsummer. Location, outside of Uchiha clan complex. Shursui Uchiha was about to stop a civil war from happening caused by his kinsman. However, he was stopped by Root Umbu leader and founder, Danzo Shimura. Danzo had attacked him in an attempt to gain his Mangekyo Sharingan, Kaleidoscope Copy Wheel Eye, and its Jinjutsu ability, the Kodo Amatsukami, distinguished heavenly gods. Shursui escaped with both of his eyes in contact, however. He was severely injured upon the attack. Shursui went to Training Ground 34 to get away from the complex. He then runs across a Naruto clone. "Help!" screamed a wounded Shursui. Naruto quickly approached Shursui to calm him down and to understand his situation. "What's wrong, Shursui?" said Naruto. Shursui claimed himself down and then turned to look at Naruto, the Yondaime Hokage's son. He's seen and meet Naruto before. He would watch Naruto train and was impressed by his skill. Naruto was given many tips by Shursui. "Naruto, I was attacked from my eyes, and I don't think I have enough strength to find Itachi," said Shursui. Naruto observed to see Shursui was injured with a stab wound to his stomach. Naruto couldn't heal him due to lack of medical ninjutsu knowledge on spot and didn't want to fight whoever attacked Shursui. "Naruto, please take my eyes," asked Shursui. "But why me Shursui?" asked Naruto. "Because other than Itachi, I trust you with them and don't want them stolen by that man," said Shursui angrily. Shursui then immediately transformed his normal 3-Tomo Sharingan into a pinwheel-shaped one. Naruto sighed, knowing that removing the Shursui's eyes would surely seal his fate with death. However, Naruto had to honor the man's wish. Naruto carefully removed his left and right eye and placed them in a storage seal. Naruto's clone then raced home to give the real Naruto the eyes. They would be placed in a frozen storage until they were needed. Itachi arrived to see Shursui lying on the ground with blooded eye sockets. Itachi figured that someone had taken his eyes. "Itachi, please kill me," asked Shursui. Itachi completed his wish by unstrapping his Umbu Ninjato and stabbed Shursui through the heart, instantly killing him. The pain of killing his best friend caused Itachi to unlock the Mangekyo Sharingan. Itachi immediately head onto the clan to complete his mission. Location: Uchiha Clan Complex. Itachi Uchiha moved from house to house around the Uchiha complex. He had one goal in mind: to eliminate his clan members. The Uchiha clan was planning a coup d'etat against the village, which would lead to a civil war. A civil war created by the Uchihas that would severely weaken Konoha. This would give IWA the chance to strike Konoha to get revenge for their defeat during the Third Great Ninja War. Itachi had already killed his family. Sasuke suddenly walked into the sight of his mother and father lying on the floor dead in their own blood. He'd already seen other relatives dead on the ground. "Itachi, why did you kill everyone?" asked a frightened Sasuke. "Foolish little brother, I killed everyone to test my Sharingan's power," said Itachi with a cold and menacing look. "Hate me, Sasuke. Become strong, Sasuke. Strong enough to kill me," said Itachi. Itachi activated his Mangekyo Sharingan and used Tsukuyomi, Moon Reader, on Sasuke. In the Tsukuyomi, Itachi showed Sasuke the killing of the entire Uchiha clan repeatedly till Sasuke passed out. -2 ND year. During the second year at the Academy, Irika taught the ninja basics. He had told them about the different ninja ranks and types of ninja. He would test the class every 2 weeks to see what they learned. Naruto, as always, aced the exams. Irika started to teach class something new to many, but not to Naruto. "Today, class, we're learning about chakra," said Irika. "Before we begin, what is chakra?" asked Irika. Naruto casually raised his hand to answer the question. "Chakra is the molding of the physical energy present in every cell of the body and the spiritual energy gained from exercise and experience," said Naruto. "Correct. Excellent answer, Naruto," said Irika. Naruto went back to his studying position and waited for further instruction from Irika. Sasuke was tempted to raise his hand and answer the next question. However, he didn't want to compete with Naruto, not until the end of the year with their sparring bout. Irika further explained what chakra was and how it was an important tool of a ninja. Irika started the class to work on chakra control through the leaf concentration exercise. While the exercise helped with chakra control, by forcing the user to focus chakra to the forehead to keep the leaf still. The leaf concentration exercise is actually used for concentration teaching. A shinobi can't be a good ninja without concentration to focus on the task at hand. Naruto have done the exercise years before, so he easily did it correctly. Sasuke took 5 minutes before he could successfully perform the leaf concentration. Everyone else, except Shikamaru, who was asleep, took 45 to 50 minutes to complete the jutsu. After this lesson, Irika had given everyone chakra paper to find out what their chakra nature would be. Naruto figured this, and had placed a seal on himself to hide chakra natures, except selected ones by him. Naruto called this the chakra nature concealment seal. He was planning on selling his seal to generate profit for himself. His seal would come along with battle tactics for a leaf shinobi. Naruto wrote futon, wind, raiton, lightning, and suiton, water, on the seal. This allowed for only these chakra natures to appear when Naruto streamed chakra through the chakra paper. Sasuke was still shocked to see Naruto had 3 chakra natures. Sasuke had 2 chakra natures, Katon, fire, and Raiton, lightning. Irika had told his students to learn and begin training on their chakra natures. Finally, it was time for summer, and kids were anxious to leave the academy for fun or training. It was last day, sparring with kids competing against each other. Naruto and Sasuke stood on opposite sides of the ring. Irika had motioned the signal and the match began. Naruto stood waiting for Sasuke to attack. He had closed his eyes, preparing to handicap himself to give Sasuke an advantage. Sasuke saw this and prepared a plan of action. "What is that Naruto doing?" thought Sasuke. Sasuke jumped into the air and attempted to land a kick on Naruto. Naruto, moving at speeds that looked like a blur to everyone except for Irika, and jumped into the air directly behind Sasuke. Naruto then proceeds to grab Sasuke and flips him in air, then kicks him to the ground hard. Sasuke is unable to continue. "Match goes to Naruto," said Irika. Naruto then walked back into the classroom and waited for Irika call for dismissal. Summer. Naruto was working on jutsu seals, along with annual clone sparring matches. Naruto had sent 24 clones to every ninja supply store to sell his seals. Every store bought them because how well his clones explained how they worked and a live demonstration by the clones in the store. Naruto wanted his own recognition for his seal and not his father's, so he used the moniker Shinigami, Death God, as seal maker name. Naruto's seals he sold were the Chakra Nature Concealment Seal and the Armor Repair Seal. Naruto would get royalties since his seal were of his own creation, and he informed his father, who had him patent his seals. Naruto was wise with money dealings, deposited all of it into a bank. Naruto decided to further increase his chakra reserves. Naruto had decided to resume doing chakra control exercise for the duration of summer. Naruto would have groups of 50 clones practice chakra control exercises. These exercises were leaf concentration, tree climbing, weapon concentration, and waterfall walking. Naruto had some difficulty with the waterfall walking due to the amount of chakra need to keep the user on the waterfall. Naruto chakra reserves increased to a mid-Jonin level. Sasuke was training himself hard in hopes to defeat Itachi, but first by defeating Naruto. Sasuke was determined to catch up to Naruto's skill level no matter what it took. Sasuke read taijutsu scrolls in a hope to find Naruto's taijutsu style somewhere and defeat it. Sadly, he found no such thing, but what he did find was that Naruto created his own taijutsu style. Sasuke read me many taijutsu scrolls and learned the forms of each. Sasuke would then practice these forms on a wooden dummy that would be damaged from the force of Sasuke's blows. Sasuke started using 20 pounds, weights to increase his combat speed. He usually ran laps around the Uchiha training ground. Before Sasuke would start or finish a day of training by doing both push-ups and sit-ups to strengthen his body. Third year, Irika had been teaching the class more about elemental natures. He would have the class do various exercises to draw upon their respective chakra natures. Naruto, who had turned 11, stopped going to class. Naruto would send a clone in his place while he worked on his ninja skills. Naruto had gone back to his intense jutsu mastery when he discovered he had Tobirama Senju's ability over water control. Naruto discovered, like the Naidame Hokage, second Hokage, he had absolute mastery over water. Naruto discovered this by sending his clones into simulated desert and testing what jutsus he could use in the desert. His clones found that he could generate water in waterless places and many other things. Naruto focused on mastering his water element to be as good as the Naidame Hokage, second Hokage. Naruto opened a scroll containing A and S ranked water jutsus. They were the following: A ranked Suetun, Daiba Kufu no Jutsu, water release, great waterfall technique. Suetun, Tsunami Miso no Jutsu, water release, tsunami burial technique. Suetun, Go, water release, torrential rain. S ranked Suetun, Hokkaido Kina Kozui, water release, destructive flood. Suetun, Okabona Kaiju no Jutsu, water release, massive sea beast technique. Naruto still maintained his position as best student in the class. His clone did all his work while he practiced his ninja skills. Naruto's appearance is what made him unique. His hair was a blend of his father's, Madara Uchiha's, and Hashirama Senju. The interesting thing is that Naruto aspires to be a great ninja like Hashirama Senju, Tobirama Senju, Madara Uchiha, and his father Minato Namikaze. Naruto being the young ninja, he had his clones study stealth and assassination scrolls. This was so Naruto could sneak up on enemies quietly and for information gathering. Naruto was curious about other fighting styles within the Hidden Leaf Village like the Goken, Strong Fist, and Juken, Gentle Fist. So Naruto sent his clones using their Sharingan, Copy Wheel Eye, to observe and study these fighting styles. Naruto wanted to know everything about them, both strengths and weaknesses. He had his clones document their finds on scrolls. Naruto was planning on incorporating both fighting style elements into the Kan Shirono Doragon, Dark White Dragon. To be continued. Chapter 2. Preparations for the Genin exams, learning new skills, and meeting the Fox. Naruto, while his clones did their stealth operation Naruto, was designing a new seal. Naruto would call it the Sharingan, Copy Wheel Eye, Blocking Seal, or the SBS for short. Its purposes is to block the Sharingan's copying ability and predicting ability. Naruto knew by learning seal less hand seals for jutsus could stop jutsu copying, and that speed faster than the Sharingan could compete with would cancel his taijutsu and kenjutsu from being copied. But Naruto likes knowing that Sasuke can't steal any of his techniques. Naruto was working on the seal with 5 other clones assisting him. Naruto was going to keep this seal to himself. This was a seal Naruto had specifically designed and made for himself. Naruto still performed physical exercise to keep his body in shape. He had absolutely no baby fat at all. Naruto also, while outside of school, was working on way to give his sword a special ability. Naruto had read tells about the Kiri no Shinobigatana, Shishinin Shu, 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, and how powerful the group of ninja were, and how each member's sword has its own special ability. Naruto, being skilled in Fuin Jutsu, thought he could create his own sword's ability. Naruto had put 10 clones into researching each of the 7 swordsmen's sword's abilities and to see if he could create his own ability with his own sword. Naruto also focused his studying in Iryo Ninjutsu, medical ninjutsu. Since Naruto had practically mastered chakra control, he decided to learn Iryo Ninjutsu. He figures that when he was assigned to a team after he graduated the academy, he wanted to be a strong asset to his team. Naruto made sure his father didn't find out he was skipping out on learning by occasionally going to class from time to time. Sasuke was training to be superior to Naruto. He was trying like Naruto to invent his own taijutsu body technique style. However, unlike Naruto, he didn't bother to learn many other taijutsu styles on his own. He went to the library and studied the taijutsu scrolls that were available to there. From the library, he went to the Uchiha training ground and practiced the stances on the scrolls he checked out from the library for hours on end. He was developing his own style in hopes to be a greater ninja than Naruto. It drove him mad just thinking that Naruto was always better than him. Sure, Naruto is the son of the Hokage, but what made him different that put him ahead of everybody else in the academy? If I can't beat that dope Naruto, then how will I be able to beat him? Thought Sasuke to himself. Sasuke did workouts to ensure he could at least hit Naruto in their next fight. Meanwhile, Naruto's clones had come back to turn in their collected information about the Goken, strong fist, and the Juken, gentle fist, to the original Naruto. Naruto had another clone get the information from the clones and then disperse them. Naruto was reading over the report from the clones. He then went back to working on his sword's ability seal with his clones. Naruto had already told his clones about his sword's ability. Naruto's sword would enhance and internally damage his opponent based on the chakras streamed through his sword at one time. For example, if Naruto had streamed futon, wind, through his sword and stabs an enemy ninja, the sword would enhance to futon's cutting ability even further by spreading the futon chakra in the wounded area. This would cause more external bleeding to speed up death time. Also, multiple organs can be pierced due to the futon chakra spreading. With this ability and his skilled swordsmanship, Naruto was sure to become a threat to any shinobi he faces in the future. Naruto had told the clones to include all chakra natures except Doton, Earth. There is no tactical advantage to gain from streaming Doton chakra through his sword. Since Naruto was trying to enhance his taijutsu style, he also thought to enhance his kenjutsu, sword technique style. Naruto had imported some more Kenjutsu scrolls from Tetsu no Kuni, Land of Iron. These were some stances commonly used by the warrior that inhabit the icy land of Tetsu no Kuni, samurai. Naruto, like with his taijutsu style, hoped to incorporate and improve his Kenjutsu style with the Tetsu no Kuni samurai stances. Naruto was making quite the fortune for himself by selling his seals. Shinigami, as he is known by for his seals, makes 1,500 ryo per seal sold. Naruto makes 4 times the seal sell price for his seals in 2 months. Naruto deposits half his earnings into his bank account and seals to the rest in a storage scroll for Naruto regulated spending. Regulated spending was a division of spending money for Naruto's own use only. The categories included food, clothing, weapons, and personal equipment. Naruto couldn't wait to finish his training and improvements on his sword, Kenjutsu, and Taijutsu styles. Naruto was going to become a fearsome threat in the ninja world. Finally, it was the last day of the academy before summer break. Many students were excited to see another bout between Naruto and Sasuke. Naruto had started a gambling center in the classroom. The orchestrators of the gambling were Shikamaru and Naruto. Shikamaru had no doubt in Naruto's ability. Naruto knew he would win, but he still wouldn't underestimate Sasuke. Naruto was going to test his newly improved taijutsu style out on Sasuke today. "What's today's bet, Naruto?" asked Shikamaru to his friend and business partner. "Sasuke will cough up blood from 2 hits to his body and will be unconscious till it's time to go home. He also won't be able to hit me," said Naruto. Finally, the entire class went outside and was ready for Iruka to start the match. "In 3, 2, 1, go," said Iruka. That was all the conformation Naruto needed to beat up on Sasuke. Naruto moved at speeds that only Iruka and Mizuki could keep up with. Even with Sasuke's better trained body, he still couldn't keep up with Naruto's natural speed. "Darn it, he's too fast. Where did that dough go?" thought Sasuke to himself after visually losing Naruto. Naruto runs towards Sasuke and proceeds to jab him in throat and stomach. The force behind the jabs caused Sasuke to cough up blood like Naruto predicted. Now Naruto was about to make the next part of his prediction true. Sasuke was severely injured from Naruto's attack. On the outside, he looked perfectly fine, but on the inside, he was aching in pain and gasping for air. Naruto then proceeded to end this fight by performing a spinning kick to the back of Sasuke's neck, incapacitating him. "Winner Naruto Uzumaki," said Iruka. Many fangirls were outraged due to Naruto whining against their Sasuke. Also, many Sasuke fangirls bet their money and lost it. "Shikamaru, how much money we get today?" asked Naruto, who was patiently waiting to receive his cut. "Altogether, we've earned 4,800 ryo apiece," said Shikamaru, whom handed Naruto's portion of the cash they had earned together. Class had just ended as soon as Sasuke regained consciousness. Sasuke, tired and defeated, walked home to the Uchiha clan complex in pain to rest. He would train again when his body stopped hurting from the pain Naruto had dealt to it. Summer. Naruto decided to focus on his last 3 elemental ninjutsu scrolls. Naruto used the Taju Kagebunshin no Jutsu, multiple shadow clone technique, to summon 100 shadow clones in groups of 10 labeled AJ. Each would learn a jutsu off the AS rank scrolls for Futon or Raiton, lightning. Scroll 1. A rank. Futon, Kametsurikina Taifu, wind release, devastating typhoon. Futon, Domo Hokudaron, wind release, ferocious hawk talons. Kaze no Yaiba, blade of wind. S rank. Futon, Hokkaido Kina Kaze no Tapu, wind release, destructive wind blast. Futon, Kami no Sukikuricha, wind release, divine sky creature. Scroll 2. A rank. Raiton, Kaminari no Senko, lightning release, flash of thunder. Raiton, Kikinatsu Panchi, lightning release, dangerous voltage punch. Raiton, Hakai Kina Shogeki Kina Perusu, lightning release, disruptive shocking pulse. S rank. Raiton, Hikari no Shogeki, lightning release, bombardment of light. Haiton, Ei no Mimiu Tsunzaku Ina Shimoku, lightning release, eternal deafening silence. Once the clones in each group saw the jutsu they need to learn off the scroll, they immediately began practicing to learn and master them. Naruto, while his clones were practicing their assigned jutsu, continued to work on his sword's special ability. Naruto called his sword's ability a Kaminoikari, God's Wrath. Naruto was assisting his clones to complete the seals necessary for his sword ability. Naruto, however, first was going to have his sword improved at the Nobori Riksu, Ascending Dragon. So Naruto, what can I do for you today? Asked a curious Dan. He was wondering what Naruto would ask of him today. Can reforge my katana by extending the blade and handle 6 inches, 15.24 centimeters, and dyeing the blade crimson, asked Naruto. Sure, said Dan. Naruto handed Dan his katana. Dan, could you also sharpen and clean my katana? Also asked Naruto. Yes, I can, said Dan. Your total will be 35,980 Ryo, said Dan. Naruto unsealed his spending money paid Dan exactly and left. It will be ready in 2 days, said Dan. Naruto went back to the training ground, discovering that his clones had completed their jutsu training. Naruto dispersed each group of clones one at a time to learn the jutsu from them and not to overload his brain. Naruto went to check on his clones that were assisting in the making of the Kaminoikari ability of his sword. Naruto was surprised to see the 4 separate Fuinjutsu seals connected to the massive seal in the middle. His clones had finished the seal, they just need the original Naruto to return to add his blood to the seal and place his sword in the middle of the seal. Naruto dispersed these clones to see the full interworking of the seal. The seal worked like this. The 4 separate seals would each have 1 elemental nature chakra from Futon to Sueton, water, except Doton in each seal. The 4 separate seals were connected to the middle seal through lines that would contain Naruto's blood. Once the sword was placed in the middle seal, it would gain the properties of all the elemental chakra streamed through it. Naruto also added 2 additional abilities to the seal that would automatically be applied as soon as Naruto's katana touched the seal. The first was called B. Akarita Bu Indi Boi, the unstoppable impenetrable defense. This ability prevented his sword from being damaged and destroyed by another blade or weapon. The second new ability was called Mizuta Norita Tachi, Forsaken Curse Touch. If an enemy shinobi who wasn't blood related to Naruto, or didn't contain his bloodline, would have a rude awakening when they attempted to use his sword against Naruto in battle. Whenever a person whom didn't fit in either requirement previously mentioned attempt to stream chakra through Naruto's blade, they also are damaging themselves. For example, an enemy ninja is fighting Naruto and picks up his sword. They stream right on chakra through it and attempt to injure Naruto. The sword will also redirect some of the right on chakra into the enemy ninja's hand nervous system. The hand of the enemy could be temporarily or permanently disabled. Think of this like his sword's built-in recoil. Naruto now just had to wait to days till his sword was reformed and cleaned. Time skip, 2 days later. Naruto and 3 other clones streamed one elemental chakra of Futon, Raiton, Katon, and Suiton into the 4 separate seals. Next, Naruto unsealed a jar from a storage seal. Within this jar contained the exact amount of blood needed for the sword ability seal. Naruto poured slowly and evenly, making sure that all his blood stayed inside the lines of the seal. Once all the preparations had been made, all that was left was for Naruto to unsheath his sword and place it into the middle of the seal. Naruto removed his sword from his sheath and admired its beauty and craftsmanship. Next, Naruto gently placed his sword in the middle. The seal had started its activation by biting itself with the sword. Next, all the chakra and blood contained in the seal was absorbed by Naruto's katana. The area was engulfed by a massive white light, blinding everyone in the area. Once the light had died down on the ground, where the few injected seal used to be was only Naruto's katana. Naruto picked up his sword and examined and noticed changes due to the seal applied on his sword. The crimson color of the blade became even darker. The color was a dark red near black color. On the handle, a golden spiral in the form of a dragon covered it. Wow, I didn't expect this, but Atlas the Seal worked, thought Naruto to himself. Naruto had decided to name his katana. He named it Mokushiroko Doragon. Sure, Apocalypse Dragon, Death. Naruto resheathed his katana and decided to return to training. Naruto unsealed his scroll containing a series of workouts to increase speed and muscle mass. This scroll was a collection of workouts made from Kumogikure no Sato, village hidden by clouds. They were for Jonin level shinobi. Naruto thought, since he was learning Jonin level techniques, why not do Jonin level exercise? Naruto had increased his weight on his gravity seal to 60 pounds. Naruto was heavily under the effects of the weights. Naruto felt tired after doing 75, 5 reps of 15 of each workout. Naruto felt the tug and pull of each exercise on all his body's muscles. He was completely sore all over. Naruto was fast asleep, resting to restore his body. Meanwhile, Naruto had sent some clones before he exercised to buy some books on cooking, gardening, and hunting animals. Naruto decided that if he ran out of food while on a mission, he might learn how to procure and cook food if need be. Naruto's clones returned with 3 scrolls filled and labeled with whole book sets. Naruto's clones dispersed after dropping of the scrolls. Within Naruto's mind, Naruto found himself in a dark hallway with low lighting by torches scattered on the walls. Naruto also took notice that this mysterious place had ankle-deep water. Naruto soon arrived in a large room within the center of was a massive cage. In the center of the cage was a seal that locked the cage. Naruto was soon greeted by a large pair of blood-red eyes and large smile revealing a mouth full of sharp teeth. "So my host decides to grace me with my presence," said the large creature. "So this confirms my suspicions that I'm the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, nine-tailed fox," said Naruto. Looks like my host is highly intelligent. Why, yes, I'm the Kyuubi that attacked your village. Unfortunately, I got sealed into you," said the Kyuubi. "Let me ask you this, Naruto. How did you know I was sealed in you?" asked the Kyuubi. "Easy. I read about you attacking the village, and how Hiruzen Sarutobi, the Sandame Hokage, third Hokage, defeated you. I also read how Biju, tailed beast, are massive chakra no Bakemono, chakra monsters, which means they can't be destroyed but sealed into something. Combine that with my birthday being on the day you attacked, and the Fuinjutsu seal on my stomach, this was how I arrived at that conclusion," said Naruto. The Kyuubi just stared at his host Naruto. For him to figure out why proved why he was a good host. He was smart and strong, which aren't bad traits for a Jinchuriki. He was still thinking of a response to say until Naruto spoke up. "Hey Kyuubi, let's make a deal," said Naruto. "What deal could you possibly make with me?" asked the Kyuubi. "I will reduce a portion of the seal if you fully comply with my request. Me being a master of Fuinjutsu allows me to assess and modify the seal to help you out," replied Naruto. "As for a deal, here are my terms. 1. You allow me free use of your chakra. 2. Any DNA added to my body must be attached to my own DNA structure. 3. Heal all injuries I take and add increased muscle mass to body. 4. While I'm resting, enhance my senses, both visual and auditory. Any non-compliance with these terms will result in fixed seal and punishment," said Naruto with his now activated Sharingan. "Those eyes, I hate those eyes. As for the deal, I'll agree to the terms," said the Kyuubi. Naruto quickly walked over to his seal and removed 1/4 of the seal from the cage. Naruto still could block the Kyuubi's thoughts from disrupting his own and still had control of his chakra system. Once Naruto left his mindscape, he woke back up in the real world. Back on training ground 34, Naruto awakens from his slumber to discover the 3 scrolls Naruto's clones left on the field. Naruto grabs the scrolls and warps home. Namake's estate. Naruto, inside his room, decided to read the hunting scroll. So he unsealed the scroll and began to read book after book on hunting animals. He learned how to clean and skin animal from the book sets on hunting. While Naruto was reading the hunting book set, he had 2 groups of 10 clones read both the cooking and gardening scrolls. Once they finished a book, they would reread it to gain full understanding of that book. Naruto's clones had dispersed themselves once they completed the books. Naruto soon, with his newly acquired knowledge, used Taju Kagabunshin no Jutsu, multiple shadow clone technique, to summon 50 clones. Naruto then had those clones split into 5 groups. Naruto then proceeded to give his clones commands. "All right, guys, listen up. In Group A, you shall go hunt animals in the forest of death that can be cooked and eaten. Group B clones will go into the village and purchase vegetable seed so we can start our own food garden. Group C clones shall go convince my dad into why creating a garden is needed. Group D clones, I need you to also go into the village and buy more books on Iryo ninjutsu and herbs and poison. Finally, Group E, I need you to take these scrolls, study them for garden designs, and build it in the selected portion of the backyard, said Naruto. His clones all scrambled to perform their assigned task. Naruto had decided to finish the rest of the workouts from earlier in the backyard. Naruto decided to go into the village to procure spices and seasonings for his own gourmet meals. Naruto was searching for a high-class spices store within the village of Konoha. After an hour of searching in the village, Naruto came across a spice store. Kindan no Aji, Forbidden Flavor, was the name of the spice shop Naruto had just walked into. Naruto smelt the aroma of various species. After picking up a basket from the front of the store, Naruto had begun to smell test each spice, pick only the ones he liked. After he chose all the spices he liked, he then proceeded to the front to meet store owner Don Kasai. He was a tall man at 6.5 feet, 195.98 centimeters, with white hair and wore an all-black robe. "What can I do for you today, sir?" said Don. "I would like to buy all these," said Naruto, placing the basket full of spices in front of Don. Don slow counted spice in Naruto's basket and then began to calculate the price of each spice. "Sir, your total will be 150,989 Ryo," said Don. Naruto quickly unsealed the exact amount of money and paid the man. Naruto then took out a blank storage scroll and sealed the spices into the scroll. Naruto then took his spice scroll and left for home. Back at the Namikaze estate, Naruto warped into the kitchen and set his spices scroll down. Naruto then walked into his room to find the books and herbs and poison on his desk. Naruto's clones had succeeded in their hunting trip and stored away the meat. Naruto then returned to the kitchen and summoned 10 new clones and told them to prepare dinner and his lunch for tomorrow. Naruto then proceeded to walk outside to look at the garden his clones had built. It was as he had hoped for. Naruto's clones were using Mokuton to speed up crop production time. They had dispersed when the crops were fully grown. Naruto's cooking clones had walked out to pick some of the harvest from the garden. Naruto's clones then returned to cooking after they exited the garden. The real Naruto was reading more books on Iryo ninjutsu in his room. Naruto was reading until dinner time. Once dinner was ready, Naruto ate his meal and enjoyed it. He saved some food for his father. Naruto then took a shower and went to bed to regain energy for tomorrow. While he slept, the Kyuubi was fulfilling his part of the deal he and Naruto made. He was enhancing the blonde's visual and auditory system. Naruto would see the world clearer and hear almost everything without the use of chakra to enhance his sight or hearing. The next morning, Naruto woke up and washed his body, then ate breakfast. Naruto then warped out to the training field. On training ground 34, Naruto did some stretching to loosen up his sore muscles. Naruto decided not to do any exercises since it was his off day. Naruto took out his AS-ranked Doton Jutsu scroll. The Jutsus were the following. A ranked Doton, Yomi Numa, Earth Release, Swamp of the Underworld. Doton, Jishin Damaku, Earth Release, Earthquake Barrage. Doton, Kazan Funka, Earth Release, Volcanic Eruption. S-ranked, Doton, Supiya Samyaka no Hanai, Earth Release, Range of the Spear Mountains. Doton, Funshutsuru, Shinkuru no Miso, Earth Release, Erupting Mudslides, Sinkhole Burial. Naruto had used Taju Kagabunshin no Jutsu to summon 50 clones who split into groups of 5 and started working on jutsus listed on the scroll. Naruto decided to work on his Kinjutsu and Taijutsu stances. Naruto was practicing the stances by adding in new information he gathered through his clones' research and Tetsu no Kuni scrolls. Naruto stopped practicing once he noticed his clones had completed the jutsus on the scroll. Naruto had then dispersed each group of clones to gain knowledge from them. He took breaks in between the dispersing of the clones to not overload his brain. Naruto decided to celebrate his completion of learning a variety of elemental ninjutsu. He would tell his father of this achievement tonight. Later that evening within the Namikaze estate, Minato Namikaze had just returned from a very long day at the office. He took a walk through the kitchen and began to reheat the food Naruto cooked. Minato went upstairs to check on Naruto. He went up and opened his room door to find Naruto still awake. Further inspection of the room, Minato discovered Naruto was asleep but had clones working on a new seal. "So what are you doing?" asked Minato. "Working on a new seal," said one of Naruto's clones. "Boss left a note on your desk for you to read," said another Naruto clone. Minato approached Naruto's desk for the note. After finding it, he took it downstairs with him. Minato proceeded to turn off the stove and place the note on the table. Minato grabbed himself a plate and popped the food on the plate. Minato grabbed a glass, poured himself some lemonade to drink. Once he had everything, he sat at the dinner table and began to enjoy his meal. While eating his dinner, Minato had begun to read the note. "Hello, Father. I have decided to let you know, after 9 years since I have begun my shinobi training, I have finally completed my elemental ninjutsu training. I have been improving my taijutsu and kenjutsu styles from foreign scrolls and research on other fighting techniques from within the village. I would really appreciate it if you got me a scroll showing the Bunshin Daibakuha clone Great Explosion. It will be useful for me adapted into my fighting style. Also, please allow me to spar some of the village's best Jonin and train with them in these respective areas: Kenjutsu, Taijutsu, and Ninjutsu. I would like to train with them for the duration of summer. Please and thanks for being a great father. Love, Naruto." Minato had started to cry after reading his son's note to him. He could never be more proud or happy for his son. "Our boy is becoming a strong ninja, Kushina. I only wish you were here to see his growth," thought Minato to himself. Minato finished his dinner and then proceeded to weigh the remaining food and his dinnerware. Minato made arrangements for Naruto to receive the items he asked for in his note. Minato then washed up and went to sleep. 5:00 a.m. in the Namikaze estate. Naruto was awaked by some clones who were working on the seal that was almost completed. It was a seal designed to contain clones of Naruto. Naruto had designed a storage scroll specifically for storing shadow clones and other elemental clones. One scroll could contain up to a max of 5 clones and covered many different types of clones. From elemental to Kekkei Genkai, Naruto's scroll stored them all. Naruto called it the Clone Containment Scroll, or CCS for short. Naruto walked over to his desk and received the two scrolls and note his father placed there for him. Naruto told two of his clones to start making up his bed while he was in the shower. After Naruto got out of the shower and got dressed, he summoned two more clones to prepare breakfast. Naruto was packing all of his gear he would need for today. He first attached his katana to his back and his shuriken and kunai holsters to his hips. Naruto walked downstairs and sat at the dining table. His clones had finished making breakfast and set Naruto's food on the table. Before Naruto had started to dig in, he decided to read his father's note. To my son, Naruto, I would like to say congratulations for completing all your scrolls on elemental ninjutsu. As a father, you always have made me proud. Anyways, I've thought about your request, and my answer is yes. The scroll to the left of the note is the one that contains the Bunshin Daibakuha Jutsu. The scroll on the right contains names of the Jonin you'll be training with along with their respective expertise fields. Love from your father, Minato. Naruto was very pleased with the response he got back from his father. He started to devour his food. Naruto cooked food, providing him with energy that would be expended through training. Naruto, after he finished his breakfast, opened the second scroll. The scroll outlined how Naruto would spend the rest of his summer vacations till academy resumed. The scroll looked like this. Taijutsu. Instructor, Mato Guy, Mike Guy. Training ground, 35. Time, 6:30 a.m. to 10:30 warm-ups / spar 1. 10:30 to 11:10 a.m. spar 2 / review on mistakes. Ninjutsu. Instructor, Kakashi Hitaki. Training field, 40. Time, 11:15 a.m. to 12 p.m. spar 1. 12 p.m. to 12:30 p.m. lunch. 12:35 p.m. to 3:35 p.m. spar 2 / review on errors. Kenjutsu. Instructor, Hey Gecko. Training field, 42. 3:40 p.m. to 5 p.m. spar 1 / revision of errors. 5 p.m. to 9 o'clock free time. Once Naruto read over his training schedule, he summoned 10 shadow clones and had them practice the Bunshin Daibakuha Jutsu. Naruto then checked the time. It was 6:20 a.m. Naruto took off towards training ground 35 via Shunshin no Jutsu, body flicker technique. Training ground 35. Two ninja were waiting for a third member to join them in their manly, youthful challenge of fist and power. Their names are Mato Guy, Mike Guy, and his apprentice Rock Lee. Lee and the other members of Team Guy were given a break from missions for this summer. Niji was fine with the decision because it gave him more time to train. Suddenly, in a burst of white smoke, Naruto appeared in front of Lee and Guy. Both Lee and Guy were very excited to meet Naruto. Naruto took in the appearance of both Lee and Guy. Both looked like twins, except one was wearing a Jonin vest and didn't have bandages warped around his arm. Both in a green form-fitting jumpsuit with orange leg warmers on their legs. Another difference was one was taller. "Hello," said Naruto. "Hello, Naruto. My name is Mato Guy," said Guy. "Hello, my name is Rock Lee," said Lee. "So, when are we going to begin training?" asked Naruto. "We shall start warm-ups now. I want both of you begin with 200 sit-ups and 300 leg lifts," said Guy. Neither Lee nor Naruto complained and began to work on the sit-ups. Naruto was ahead in sit-ups when he noticed Lee was trying to catch up. So he's a competitive person, also thought Naruto to himself. Naruto began to speed through his sit-ups like Lee. Both were working up a sweat while working out. Naruto finished his sit-ups, then immediately began working on his leg lifts. At the end of the exercises, Guy had Naruto and Lee do stretches to loosen their muscles. The time was now 9 a.m. All right, it's sparring time. This spar is strictly taijutsu, nothing else. The fight will end when one is unable to battle, or time is called Sedgai. Naruto removes his sword and places it beside Guy. Both Lee and Naruto went to opposite sides of the field and got into their respective stances. Guy paid peculiar attention to Naruto's stance. That's a form I've never seen before, thought Guy to himself. Lee was the first on the offensive. He charged at Naruto and had begun to start a series of high and low kicks. Konoha Senpu, tree leaf whirlwind, said Lee. As Naruto avoided the high kicks, Lee would start a low kick in an attempt to hit Naruto. Naruto, using his quick reflexes, avoid Lee's assault of kicks by flipping over Lee to get behind him. Naruto then runs at Lee with his superior natural body speed and punches him in the back. The force of the blow causes Lee to double over in pain. That punch was unreal. I knew you would be a good rival, Naruto, thought Lee. Naruto then moves in front of Lee and pulls back his arm with his fist, ready aiming for Lee's chin. Raging Ghidorah, Rising Dragon, said Naruto. Naruto uppercuts Lee into the air, increasing the pain Lee feels in his already injured body. Naruto then launches his body into the air by jumping. Once in the air, Naruto had started spinning into a kicking barrage. Doragon Dragon Tail Spin, said Naruto. Naruto aimed a fury of kicks at Lee's stomach. The attack knocked Lee out of air and back a few feet on the ground. Naruto gracefully lands on both feet. Guy was impressed by Naruto's display of strength. What an incredible fighting style, thought Guy. Rock Lee had recovered and was ready to continue the fight. You're strong, Naruto. Your youthful flames shine brightly, said Lee. Why, thanks, Lee. You're not half bad yourself, said Naruto, who got into another stance. Guy-sensei, how much time do we have left? Asked Naruto. You have an hour and 15 minutes left, said Guy. Naruto this time went on the offense against Lee. He moves towards the right side of Lee's body. Naruto then starts to punch Lee. Lee is slow but blocks the second punch, but before he can counter, he is kicked in the stomach by Naruto. Lee coughs up some blood after Naruto's attack. He re-engages Naruto once he is stable. Lee goes for a kick to the back of Naruto's head. Naruto simply grabs Lee's leg and tosses him into the air. While in the air, Lee prepares for Naruto's attack. Naruto allows Lee fall about to hit the ground while he closes his eyes and gets into a meditative stance. Lee was about 5 inches, 12.7 centimeters from the ground till Naruto sprung and moved at speeds only Guy could keep up with. Ryu Exeterum with Rudo, Dragon Extreme Assault, said Naruto. Naruto hits Lee from each side of his body twice with a punch and kick. Naruto performs this barrage of strikes until the last hit, where he hits Lee with a one-handed open palm strike that sends him flying and crashing hard across the training field. Lee is unable to continue the battle, is over, said Guy. Naruto went over to Lee and started to treat his injuries. Lee was shocked that Naruto knew Iryo ninjutsu, medical ninjutsu. Naruto had healed all the injuries due to their spar. "Thanks, Naruto," said a grateful Lee. "You're welcome, Lee," said Naruto. "What a wonderful battle between you two. Naruto, your flames of youth shine intensely. So now I and you shall spar in combat. Before we spar, I must ask, what is that taijutsu style you use? I've never seen anything like it," said Guy. "My taijutsu style is called the Kanshirono Doragon, Dark White Dragon. It is a taijutsu style I created after practicing and memorized many other taijutsu styles," said Naruto. "Incredible to think you made this style by yourself. Are truly amazing," said Guy. "It's unbelievable to think Naruto created a taijutsu style by himself. He is the true definition of a prodigy. Maybe he will be a better rival than Neji," thought Lee. Guy and Naruto both got into their respective stances. Naruto's stance looks similar to a stance Neji would use. His stance is similar to Neji's, but it's different somehow, thought Guy. Guy was the first to attack. He moved at high speeds, but Naruto was able to react by blocking. As expected from a Jonin taijutsu master. He is very fast, much faster than Lee. "I think it's time to remove my weights," thought Naruto. Naruto quickly flipped away from Guy to escape his assault. Naruto quickly formed a one-hand-to-hand seal and said release. Naruto had just removed his gravity seals. "I feel lighter now," said Naruto. "What was that?" asked Guy. "I removed my gravity seals from my body, which added 60 pounds to my body," said Naruto. Naruto then took the opportunity to charge at Guy and delivered a kick to which was blocked by Guy. Naruto then proceeds to move on to attack Guy from the sky by using a drop kick. Guy easily blocks the air attack. "Konoha Gariki Senpu, Tree Leaf Strong Whirlwind," said Guy. Guy attempts a strong spinning back kick only to find Naruto moved out the way. Naruto charges at Guy, who had just landed on the ground, and braced himself for Naruto's attack. Ryu Hakai Jiriken, Dragon Destructive Guillotine, said Naruto. Naruto propels himself at Guy and starts a series of 3 kicks. The first kick is a low kick, which Guy simply jumps over. The second kick is a middle kick aimed for Guy's legs, which makes contact hitting Guy. The third and final kick is a high kick, which hits Guy's chest, causing him to sail into the air. Naruto, after the third kick, lands on the ground and jumps into the air after Guy. Guy adjusts his body for and braces for Naruto's next move. Naruto then jabs Guy in key areas of the body. Guy blocks most of Naruto's jabs. Naruto ends his assault with a double open palm strike. Guy is sent crashing back down to the ground. Just before impact, he adjusts his body land on the ground softly. After Naruto lands, Guy goes for the offensive. However, his body stops completely, causing him to fall to the ground. "What'd you do?" asked Guy. "I stuck your nerves, making you temporarily paralyzed. Each jab I delivered to your body was targeted at a nerve. So even when you blocked my jabs, your arms were," said Naruto. "Who would have thought those jabs could have a deadly secret behind them?" thought Guy. "I guess that makes you our winner, Naruto. Now it's time to review mistakes during the spar," said Guy. "Naruto, it would seem your taijutsu style is strong, as it is you need to become faster. By increasing your natural speed through speed training should help cover that flaw. The same goes for you, Lee. You also need speed training to become faster. Naruto, also you need to find a way to release your seal without alerting an opponent. That could be a decision of life or death, said Guy. Hi, Guy Sensei, said both Naruto and Lee. Both knew what they had to do to improve. Naruto then checked the time and found it to be 11:10 a.m. Naruto then shunshin to Training Ground 40. Training Ground 40. Kakashi Hatake, who is currently an Umbu captain, was waiting for Naruto Uzumaki to appear. Kakashi knew his full name was Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki. When Minato informed him of Naruto's request, he jumped at the offer and said yes. Kakashi saw it as an honor to train Naruto, his sensei's son. Naruto appeared from a pile of smoke on the training field. "Ah, there you are," said Kakashi. "So you are Kakashi Hatake," said Naruto. "I assume you will be teaching me ninjutsu," said Naruto. "Yes, I will. However, I must ask you a question first. For someone as skilled as yourself in ninjutsu, why would you request help in this field?" asked Kakashi. "I would like to test my skill in ninjutsu with someone of your caliber to see where I stand as a shinobi. It would greatly help me by you critic my ability, allowing me to improve any flaws as you see fit," said Naruto. "Wow, he really is your son, Sensei. We will start our first spar session now. Only C to be ranked ninjutsu," said Kakashi. Naruto started off by summoning 2 shadow clones and gave them instructions with scrolls to remain hidden. Naruto then summoned 4 more clones to assist him with battle. 2 of Naruto's clones rushed Kakashi successfully, making physical contact with him, starting a taijutsu battle. Kakashi was for now on the defensive, blocking and dodging punches and kicks for Naruto's clones. Even though Kakashi was guarding, he still felt the pain of the punches and kicks. Ugh, these are attacks hurt even though I'm blocking them. What training in taijutsu has he been doing? Thought Kakashi. Naruto's clones continued to fight Kakashi. Both of Naruto's clones eventually tagged Kakashi with a seal, then dispersed. Naruto received the knowledge of the seal placed on Kakashi from the clones Naruto, and his 2 additional clones started a series of hand seals for jutsu. Katan, Gokaku no Jutsu, fire release. "Great fireball technique," said Naruto. Katan, Goryuka no Jutsu, fire release. "Great dragon fire technique," said Naruto's first clone. H. Futon, Doragon no Todoroki, wind release. "Dragon's roar," said Naruto's second clone. A large fireball came from Naruto's mouth and headed towards Kakashi. Out of Naruto's first clone's mouth came a 2 dragon head-shaped fireballs also targeted at Kakashi. Naruto's second clone breathed out small furious gale directed at Kakashi. The gale increased the speed and power of the 3 fireballs aimed at Kakashi. Kakashi then proceeded to jump out the way. Naruto and his clones quickly moved behind Kakashi to trap him. "Suiro no Jutsu, water prison technique," exclaimed Naruto and his first clone. Naruto and his first clone had trapped Kakashi in an orb of water. Naruto had made sure his other clone was ready to take his place if Kakashi was a clone. He's only 11 years old and has already mastered 3 chakra natures. "No doubt he's your son Sensei," thought Kakashi. "Well, Naruto, it looks like you won our first spar," said Kakashi. "Well, yeah, but you're holding back," said Naruto. Well, from now in our spars, I will approach you with the strength of an Umbu captain with no restrictions. Now go eat lunch, you will need the energy, said Kakashi. Hi, Sensei, said Naruto, whom used the Shunshin to return home. Back at the Namikaze estate, Naruto, who returns home, was greeted by his clones who informed him that the clone containment scroll is ready for use. Naruto told his clones to prepare lunch for him and then disperse themselves afterwards. Naruto's clones had mastered the Bunshin Daibakoha, so they already were dispersed, and Naruto gained their knowledge while fighting Guy. Naruto returned to studying Iryo ninjutsu till lunch was ready. After Naruto finished his studying, he decided to create a plan to defeat Kakashi. He knew that for the duration of summer, Kakashi was one of his teachers, so why not have him teach him his own technique? Naruto went downstairs to see that lunch was ready for him. Naruto ate his food at a moderate pace to prepare for his battle against a serious Kakashi. Naruto was hoping to test to his Sharingan, Copy Wheel Eye, Blocking Seal, and his CCS scroll in the fight against a serious Kakashi. After completing his meal, Naruto summoned 5 shadow clones. Naruto then proceeded to seal his 5 clones into his CCS scroll and headed out back towards Training Ground 40. Back at Training Ground 40, Kakashi was waiting patiently for the return of Naruto. He knew that their next spar would be a long yet intense one. Suddenly, Naruto appeared before Kakashi. I'm back, so I'm assuming that we will start the second spar, said Naruto. Yes, we will now begin the second spar. Any level jutsu goes. Any questions before we begin? Asked Kakashi. Kakashi-sensei, if I win or come close to winning, can you teach me the Raikiri, lightning cutter? Asked Naruto. Yeah, I guess so, but you would have to learn the Chidori, 1,000 birds, first, said Kakashi. No, I wouldn't, since my chakra control is excellent, and the Raikiri requires more focus and concentration than the Chidori, which I have, said Naruto. I'll be the judge of that, said Kakashi while removing his headband to reveal his Sharingan and charging at Naruto. Naruto took the time to unseal clones from his CCS scroll. How did he summon 5 clones with no hand seals? Wait a minute, he released them from his scroll. A prodigy in jutsu, just like you, sensei, thought Kakashi. 3 of Naruto's clones started to attack Kakashi with their katanas. Kakashi quickly pulled out his own ninjato and engaged the clones of Naruto. Naruto was about to start phase 1 of his plan. Naruto quickly made hand signs for his jutsu. 1. Suetun, go, water release. Torrential rain, said Naruto. Naruto used his chakra and released it into the sky. Within seconds, it began to rain. The rain started as a light drizzle, turned into a heavy downpour over the training ground. Kakashi was trading blows with Naruto's clones. He wasn't tired, but felt effects of the various cuts dealt to them, especially since Naruto's clones had all streamed futon chakra through their swords. Understanding the predicament he was in, Kakashi quickly used kill blows to defeat Naruto clones and went after Naruto. Naruto's remaining 2 clones were assisting him. J. Suetun, Hakekina Kozui, water release. Destructive flood, said Naruto's 4th clone. Naruto's 4th clone placed both his hands on the ground and channeled Suetun chakra through the already rain-soaked ground and caused the water level to rise. What a masterful display of Suidan jutsu, thought Kakashi. Kakashi immediately heads toward the trees to rethink his strategy and for higher ground. Naruto and his fifth clone both began making hand seals for various jutsu. Okay, Suidan, Okabona Kaiju no Jutsu, water release. Massive sea beast technique, said Naruto. Futon, Kami no Sukakuricha, wind release. Divine sky creature, said Naruto's fifth clone. Naruto, using his chakra, channels it through the water on the ground and water in the air to form a massive dragon leviathan of pure water. Naruto's fifth clone used his chakra to form a gigantic flying wind creature that went after Kakashi. Kakashi, upon seeing the beast, had started to run from the tree to tree in an attempt to escape. Trees were cut down as the pursuit came to an end with Kakashi getting hit by the sky beast. However, it was a clone that was destroyed. Kakashi was hiding underground to reformulate a new plan. Okay, so he has mastery of Futon, Katon, and Suiton. I'm running low on chakra by using Sharingan and evading his attacks. So I'll have to counter and attempt a Raikiri, thought Kakashi to himself. He summoned two clones via Kage Bunshin and had them scout out Naruto. Kakashi's clones discover Naruto's water beast hovering in air while his fourth clone guards him. Naruto's fifth clone sees this, so he runs after them. He successfully destroys both clones by stabbing one and exploding on the second. After their destruction, Kakashi gains this new information and decides for a head-on final confrontation with Naruto. Kakashi emerges from the ground and dashes towards Naruto along with two newly made clones. Kakashi's first clone head towards Naruto's clone and engaged him in a kenjutsu fight. Sorry, you'll have to do better, said Naruto, who moves his right hand, commanding his water leviathan. The water monster went for Kakashi, however his clone was ready with a jutsu. Futon, Daitapa, wind release. Great breakthrough, said Kakashi's second clone. A massive wind gust caused the leviathan to change directions. Kakashi quickly made hand signs for his famed Raikiri. He charged at Naruto with the Raikiri. Naruto quickly made his water leviathan to change directions to attack Kakashi. Kakashi's second clone formed the Raikiri and cut Naruto's leviathan in half, and then dispersed due to using up all his chakra. Kakashi runs towards Naruto and stabs him only to be blown away by the Bunshin Daibaka. A clone, when did he switch, thought Kakashi. After recovering from being blown away, he prepared himself for Naruto's assault. After turning his body, after hearing a warping sound, Kakashi blocks a punch from Naruto. The punch was aimed at Kakashi's face, which he blocked. Before he could counter, Naruto sent Kakashi flying by forming a Rasengan, spiraling sphere, in his left hand and slamming it into his stomach. What power with great tactics! He is defiantly your son, Sensei, thought Kakashi before he collapsed due to exhaustion. Naruto had summoned two more clones from his CCS scroll to heal Kakashi and cover up his Sharingan. After a few minutes of rest, he woke up. So it looks like you won, said Kakashi. Yeah, so you're going to teach me the Raikiri, asked Naruto. Yes, I'm going to teach you the Raikiri, said Kakashi. Hey Naruto, what was that scroll you used? And also, why didn't my Sharingan work on you, or your clones? Everything in it was a blur, said Kakashi. The scroll was my clone containment scroll, which I designed yesterday and tested today. It was built to hold any type of clones I make. Your Sharingan didn't work due to my Sharingan blocking seal. It blocks the copying and predicting of my enemy's Sharingan. The Sharingan blocking seal was designed about a week or two ago, but I had no way of testing it since I don't have the Sharingan, said Naruto, who was actually lying. Okay, great, keep up the good job, in jutsu. The only errors I saw during the spars were you testing an unfinished product on the battlefield. That is a very dangerous thing to do. Other than that, your ninjutsu skill is fine, said Kakashi. Hi sensei, said Naruto. Naruto checked time and saw that it was 3:35 p.m. Naruto immediately left training ground 40 and headed out to training ground 42. Hey Gecko was waiting for Naruto to show up on the training field. Not before long, he was greeted by our blonde-haired shinobi. Hello, I assume you'll be helping me improve in Kenjutsu, said Naruto. Yes, I'm here, cough, to assist, cough, and help, cough. Improve your Kenjutsu skills, said Naruto, said Hate. I'm cough, ready, cough, when you are, said Hate. Naruto was the first on the offensive in the spar. Naruto runs at Hate with his unsheathed sword. Naruto attempts a downward slash, but it's blocked by Hate. Naruto then follows up this attack by attempting a frontward stab targeting Hate's stomach. Hate counters by dodging Naruto's strike. Hate then goes on the offensive. He goes for a stab aimed at Naruto's throat only to find Naruto moved out the way. Hate quickly charges towards Naruto and forms two Kage Bunshins to assist him with his attack. Mikazuki no Mai, Dance of the 3 Days Moon, said Hate. Hate and his clones split up to assault Naruto from 3 directions. Hayate's first clone attacks from the left, Hayate's second clone attacks from the right, while Hate attacks from above. Naruto prepares to counter Hayate's deadly attack with his own. Kaze Doraganon Taifu, Wind Dragon Talon Typhoon, said Naruto. Naruto held his katana, and his right hand sticks his right arm out behind his body. Naruto then begins to stream futon chakra through his sword. Naruto then starts spinning in a complete circle while releasing 3 futon saw blades from his sword. Hate had to dive to avoid being chopped in half by the saw blades, however his clones were destroyed. Naruto then continued to fight Hate while now streaming right on chakra through his swords as well. Fighting a person with the ability to stream futon chakra through weapons is a challenge. On top of the fact that he is using an unknown Kenjutsu form, Thought Hate. Doragon no Sansishu, 1,000 slashes of the dragon, said Naruto. Naruto creates 8 clones to fight Hate. The clones surround him in a circle that begin attacking him. Hate receives some cuts and scratches, but eventually defeats the clones. Naruto's last clone then throws a smoke bomb obscuring Hayate's view before dispersing. Hate braces himself for the attack. Naruto then starts slashing Hate from all over via Hiration while using his katana. Naruto then charges directly in front of Hate, planning on making him admit defeat. However, once Naruto steps into range of Hate, he is hit with the end of hilt of Hayate's sword. Hate then jumps on top of Naruto with his sword at his throat, thus ending the spar. This cough, spar is cough, finish, said Hate. Your cough, Kenjutsu skill is good, cough. However, that last cough, attack he used was cough, unpracticed, said Hate. Yes, that move was unpracticed. Due to me just now creating it," replied Naruto. "That cough can cause cough. You cough. Your comrade's live cough. Doing that," said Hate. "Hi sensei, I will improve and learn from my mistakes," said Naruto. Naruto left and returned to the Namikaze estate. Naruto figured he would improve from the spars. He soon summoned clones to cook dinner. Naruto then summoned more clones and had them practice the Chakra no Mezu, chakra scalpel, in the backyard. Naruto ate dinner and went to sleep. Before Naruto went to sleep, he had started a plan for his future spars. Naruto at the end of summer was ready for actual combat. Through the various wins and losses of the spars, Naruto has gained more combat experience. With guys training, Naruto's natural speed improved greatly. With both his weight and gravity seals on Naruto, is at 2/3 guys' normal speed. Without his seals, Naruto's at 3/3 guys' speed with the first gate. Lee's speed is now 1/3 of Naruto's speed with weights. Ninjutsu training with Kakashi helped Naruto master the Chidori and Raikiri respectively. Naruto can perform each 5 times a day. Kakashi's training also helped Naruto adapt to fighting a different elemental user. Hayate's training helped Naruto to counter and respond quicker to his opponent. Hayate's training also patched up any flaws in Naruto's Kenjutsu. Sasuke Uchiha trained as hard as he could to reach Naruto's level. He planned to defeat him to gauge his skill level to see if he could kill his brother, Itachi Uchiha. Sasuke had invented his own taijutsu style. It was called the Tori no Kodo, soaring of birds. Sasuke had gained more muscle and a 4-pack from his training. This time, when he and Naruto spared, things will be different. Sasuke also read through the Uchiha family scrolls to add to and master his katan, fire, chakra nature. So far, the jutsu Sasuke has learned are katan, Hozinka no jutsu, fire release, Phoenix Sage fire technique, katan, Gokakyu no jutsu, fire release, Great Fireball technique, katan, Goryuka no jutsu, fire release, Great Dragon Fire technique, and katan, Ryuka no jutsu, fire release, Dragon Fire technique. -4th year. Year 4 of the Academy was different than the previous 3 years. Irika told his students that the school year would be split in half. The first half of the year was learning new subjects. The second half was review for the Genin exams. Naruto was ready for the Genin exams. He figured like everything else in the Academy, he would just be excelling at it. Outside of the Academy, Naruto had 20 clones making a new seal for himself. He had 30 clones practice taijutsu, and another 30 create poison weapons. Naruto calls it the Genjutsu Stabilizer Seal, or the GSES for short. The seal is designed to activate when Naruto activates his Sharingan, Copy Wheel Eye. This is so people don't discover his Sharingan. The seal uses a small portion of Naruto chakra and converts it into a Genjutsu, which is kept stable. The amount of chakra used is subtle, so it isn't detected by anyone. Irika was teaching the class about the various other aspects of a ninja's techniques other than. Fuinjutsu, of course, came into the class discussion. Kiba decided to make a dumb outburst, to which some laughed. How painting is designs on scrolls and ninja technique. It's more like arts and crafts, said Kiba. Before Irika could respond, it was Naruto who spoke up. For a fool as such as yourself, you would never understand the masterpiece of Fuinjutsu. It is actually the most, if not dangerous art of a shinobi. If any mistake is made during the seal-making process, it can be fatal to the creator, said Naruto. Can it Uzumaki? Just because you're the Hokage's son doesn't mean you can push others around, sneered Kiba. Araka-sensei, can I give a demonstration of Fuinjutsu? Asked Naruto. Yes, you may go ahead, said Irika. Naruto go up to the front of the class and then show them a scroll. Naruto then unsealed the seals contained up within the scroll. Naruto explained how that was a storage scroll and its practical uses. Naruto removed one seal from the stack and then resealed the others back into the scroll. This one seal can affect your body. Would anyone like to volunteer? Asked Naruto. I'll do it to prove Fuinjutsu still a wasted ninja practice, said Kiba. Kiba got out of his seat and stood beside Naruto. Naruto then streamed chakra through the seal and applied it to Kiba's body. Within seconds of the seal being applied, Kiba collapsed to the floor, unable to get up. Uzumaki, what did you do to me? Asked Kiba. I simply put a gravity seal on your body. It increases the amount of gravity directly on a person. Right now you only have a 5x gravity seal on Kiba, said Naruto. The class was shocked to see the effects of one seal. Naruto then removed the seal from Kiba's body and returned to his seat. Kiba immediately dashed towards his seat and immediately put his head down due to embarrassment. Irika continued on with the lesson. Naruto had turned 12 and knew that his shinobi career would begin. In all honesty, he was prepared for combat. Irika continued on through the first half of the year. Then Naruto had started to switch with his clones being in the academy. Naruto has to create an expansion seals for his clothes so they would grow along with his body. Naruto had realized that with his continuously growing body, he would soon outgrow his armor. He and 5 other clones got to work on this seal. Naruto also had 20 clones read and read books on DNA. Naruto was interested in DNA since he had 2 bloodlines from other clans. Naruto also realized that having the Kyuubi inside him also helps with gaining new bloodlines. Naruto started studying over all the material learned at the academy so he can pass the exam. Naruto, unlike most, knew that by getting a head start would secure his victory in becoming a Genin. So Naruto had 10 clones review all the material Naruto had written down from going to the academy. Naruto went to the training field to train. Training ground 34. Naruto was practicing his Raikiri on a large boulder. Naruto streamed the chakra, the lightning chakra, through his hand and ramming into the large boulder. The force of impact was strong enough to break through the other side and create hole. Naruto smiled because he could now begin to create a new jutsu. While Naruto was importing scrolls from Kyumo, he heard about the Raikage's ability to create Raitan no Yoroi, lightning release armor. Naruto thought he could do that with his own Raitan chakra. Naruto at first didn't have an idea for how to go about making the technique. Then he remembered what his father was trying to do to the Sharingan. Flashback. A 3-year-old Naruto was waiting patiently on the couch for his father to finish cooking dinner. Naruto then decided to ask his father about the technique he taught him, the Sharingan spiraling sphere. Hey Dad, asked Naruto. Yes, Naruto, replied Minato, who was working hard in the kitchen. How come you say the Rasengan isn't completed, said Naruto. It's unfinished because I plan on adding my own elemental chakra to it, said Minato. While that seems like a hard task, said Naruto. It does, and now, since I'm Kage, means I don't have any free time to try and practice it, said Minato. Don't worry, Dad. If you can't do it, then I will, said Naruto. I know you will now come on to the table. It's dinner time, said Minato. Flashback end. Back to training ground 34. Naruto smiled, remembering that day. He knew he had any answer to the problem at hand. Later would he try to improve the Rasengan by adding shape and nature transformation to accomplish his father's dream. Naruto first created a Chidori in his left hand. Then, using shape transformation, Naruto converts it into a lightning bolt. Naruto the streams lightning chakra through his right hand and breaks the lightning bolt in two. The lightning chakra is then evenly distributed around Naruto's entire body. Naruto's just created his own Raiten no Yoroi. Naruto, almost immediately after creating his Raiten Chidori no Yoroi, lightning release 1000 birds armor, summons 150 clones using Tajikage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto had them work on the newly created technique to increase armor equipment time and also try it with the Raikiri. Naruto's clones immediately went to work on the Jutsu. To be continued, Chapter 3, the Genin exams, Mizuki's betrayal, team placements, and assessments. Inside the Namikaze estate, Naruto awoke to his alarm going off, which he simply just turned off and got out of bed. Naruto then summoned 4 Kage Bunshins, shadow clones, to make his bed up and prepare his breakfast and lunch. Naruto then hopped into the shower and afterwards put his clothes on. Next, Naruto went downstairs to eat his breakfast while his clones finished packing the rest of his equipment. Naruto then dashed towards the academy. Today was a very special day. The Genin exams were today. The test Naruto had been preparing for 4 years now. Inside the academy, Naruto, as usual, was the first person to arrive at the academy. Soon other students began to come in and sit down. Once all the students were situated, Irika and Mizuki entered the classroom. The surprising thing about today was that the entire class was silent. They were waiting to begin the test to determine whether they became Genin or remained civilians. Irika, with a massive stack of papers in hand, broke the silence. All right, the Genin exams will begin. The first part of the exams is the written exam, which I'm handing out. You all have 40 minutes to complete the exam. Once you receive your paper, you may begin. Good luck, said Irika, who started to pass out the exam. Within the 10-minute mark of the exam, Naruto had already finished and turned in his test to Irika. Naruto to occupy time till the next portion of the exam by creating designs for some new seals he was thinking of. After the 40-minute mark, all the students were lead outside by Mizuki to begin phase 2 of the second exam. Irika was inside grading the papers. Mizuki soon began to instruct the class on the next portion of the exam. Part 2 of the exams is an accuracy test. Your objective here is to hit the red painted areas on the dummies with the given 5 shuriken and 5 kunai provided by me. To gain credit, you must aim from the 100-yard line. 20 points will be given for each vital area hit on the dummy. 10 points will be given for hitting an outer painted portion of the dummy. Extra credit of 5 points will be given to the students who throw the projectiles from beyond the 100-yard line. Also, extra credit targets will be moving. We will begin in alphabetically order, said Mizuki. Each student, one after another, had begun to throw from the 100-yard line. Shino had gotten an 80. Shikamaru had gotten a 70 due to think this exam was too troublesome. Choji received a 50 from 100 yards away. Kiba got a 70 from 100 yards away. Hinata got an 80 from 100 yards away. Sakura got an 80 from the 100-yard line. Ino received a 70 from 100 yards. Sasuke got a 90 from the 100-yard. After earning his score, Sasuke proceeded to turn towards Naruto and say, "Beat that dope." Naruto, to Sasuke's ire, ignored him so he could focus on the task at hand. Naruto positioned himself 175 yards away from his targets, which began to move. Moving quickly at high speeds, which were a blur to many people, Naruto threw both his shuriken and kunai together at the dummies. Naruto had hit all the kill spots exactly from 175 yards away. Naruto ends with a perfect score of 250, announced Mizuki. Naruto then walks back in line and waits for further instruction. Mizuki then relocates the students to the academy sparring ring. Irika arrives to explain the third part of the exams. For the third part of the exam, we will have 2 sets sparring matches. In the first set, you must outlast Mizuki in the sparring ring. The first set is out of 20 points. You will have 2 minutes to complete the task. Either knockout or ring out will count as victory for you. 10 points will be awarded to the student's victory. Additional points will be gained or deducted from your score, depending on if you make time or accomplish under time. We will start in alphabetical order, said Irika. Some students hit the 2-minute mark and earned 10 points. Shikamaru was one of those students. Most of Sasuke's fangirls earned between 11 to 14 points. Others scored between 15 to 18 points on the exam. Sasuke earned a 19 from the exam due to ring out. Naruto had begun to walk up to the ring before Irika had called his name. Naruto had positioned himself on the opposing side of the ring for Mizuki. Irika called signal for the match to begin. Mizuki sprinted off towards Naruto and attempted a right hook to his face. Naruto simply ducked under the punch and went on the offensive against Mizuki. Naruto uppercuts Mizuki, sending him sailing into the air. Naruto then jumps and launches a hard spinning kick to Mizuki's face, sending him crashing down hard outside the ring. The force from Naruto's attacks also rendered Mizuki unconscious. Winner by ring out and knockout, Naruto Namikaze, said Irika. Naruto's score for the first sparring session was 20 due to him finishing off Mizuki in under a minute. Time to begin the second set of sparring matches for third part of the exam. In this set of matches, you will pick your opponent and have a full on-taijutsu spar for 80 points. Naruto picked Sasuke, and then Naruto had Shikamaru set up the betting ring. Both combatants entered the ring and wait for Irika's signal. You won't win dope. Not this time, because I have also developed my own taijutsu style, said Sasuke. That still won't change the outcome of the fight, due to me winning. Now, Sasuke, do you want me to fight you with my weights on or off? Asked Naruto. I demand you fight me with weights off. I want you at your best when I beat you, said Sasuke. Naruto quickly removed his weights, which was him releasing his gravity and weight seals from his body. Naruto then got into a stance that looked similar to the Jukin, gentle fist. "You may begin," said Iruka. Sasuke charged at Naruto and then attempted to land a spin kick on him. Naruto then grabbed his foot and slammed his body into the ground. Naruto quickly moved behind Sasuke and grabs him by the throat. Naruto knees Sasuke twice in the stomach and ends the spar with a spinning kick that knocks Sasuke out the ring. "Winner Naruto Namikaze," said Iruka. Naruto and Shikamaru distributed the earnings out to all those who bet on Naruto. Naruto and Shikamaru each received 5,000 Ryo. Iruka and Mizuki, who had just recently regained consciousness, told the class the last part of the exam. "All right, for the last part of the exam, you must be able to perform the 3 Academy Jutsu. For the students who pass, go to the main classroom. For examination, go to the next classroom over." The entire class, one by one, was called by Iruka for the final challenge. Eventually, it was Naruto's turn. Naruto walked into the next classroom and stood in front of Mizuki and Iruka. "All right, Naruto, I want you to perform the Hinge no Jutsu transformation technique," said Iruka. Naruto simply hinged into his father, the Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze. Iruka then marked pass on his paper for Naruto.